we are fired up for a great race today. We give you thanks for fast cars and freedom. We give you thanks for the brave women and men who defend our freedom, and we pray for their safety. We give you thanks also for the courageous drivers and pit crew members who run their race today. We pray for their safety. And for all of us who run our race of life, may we run with courage, confidence, clarity, and the inspiration that we take from this track today and your abundant love. Be with us now and always. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Here to honor America with a performance of our national anthem, please welcome from Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, Master Detective Danon Vaughn.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in the air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And everyone watching the B-2 bomber fly overhead here at Kansas Speedway. Drivers climbing into their cars now, and for quite a few, those that are on the bubble, they are fighting for every point and the possibility to get that win that will advance them in to the round of 8.
beautiful day, the sun beat down. I had the radio on, I was driving. Trees flew by, me and Del were singing. Little runaway, I was flying. Yeah, running down a dream that never would come to me. Working on a mystery, going wherever it leads. Running down a dream. Whoa, whoa, yeah, running down a dream that never would come to me. Running down a dream. Oh, yeah, running down a dream.
NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Kansas. This telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Elimination Day in Kansas. And for more on the stories we'll be following, let's go to Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, you mentioned it, Elimination Day. Today is one of those NASCAR Game 7 moments. 4 drivers feel like they have to win in order to make it to the next round of the playoffs. Kyle Larson is one of those. After a Friday accident, though, he'll have to come from the back in a backup car. As he told me, I'm going to have a perfect race to be able to do that, Parker.
Already one driver who does not have to win is Clint Bowyer in his 14 car. He's 21 points to the good on the cutoff line. So I asked his team, what's the approach here? They said, we'll see how we do in the first 2 stages, and then we assess how aggressive we can be in that 3rd stage. Kelly?
A win 2 weeks ago secured Chase Elliott's spot in the next round of the playoffs, but still plenty for this 9 team to race for today. Chase told me performance today could be indicative of how they run at tracks down the road. He qualified 13th, Dave.
What a round of 12 it's been for Joey Logano. He started the round just 6 points to the good. Now he has a gap of 39. He hopes to have that signature Joey smile in victory lane today. Well, it's Elimination Day, so let's check one more thing off our list.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command to start engines, please welcome Penn National Gaming guests.
Drivers, start your engines!
Fired up, hold there, bud.
You saw the focus in the eyes. It's all in the eyes now. Searching for those positions on the racetrack and potentially getting to victory lane. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse, Aussie Rules, Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR, and by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast.
When all the pressure's on you and you're in those final moments,
Fans moving up, moving up.
Almirola to the lead.
you either make it happen or you don't.
Eric Almirola is going to win at Talladega.
Yes, we did it!
When you go down to Homestead and you're in that group and you realize just how difficult it was to get there, what it took.
Racing for a championship is such a big thing. And when I mean a big thing, it's a big thing in your life.
It's something that you always want to be a part of.
It's all about making the most out of a moment, the most out of an opportunity, really.
That was awesome.
Sometimes your back's against the wall, and you can really feed off your emotions to find a little bit extra you didn't know you had inside you.
I feel like that's what makes champions.
You've got to find that energy so you can roll right on into the sunset in Homestead with a big trophy.
That's what everyone's fighting for, that trophy. And today, 4 will be eliminated from having a shot at winning that trophy. Want to take a look at the starting grid brought to you by Outback Steakhouse. Qualifying took place on Friday, and it was a good day for the playoff drivers. Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, they'll start up front. Harvick actually won this race earlier this year here at Kansas.
And behind him, we see Eric Almirola actually broke his back here a few years ago. Ryan Blaney needs a great run today. Behind them, Brad Keselowski also needing a great run. Eric Jones finished 7th here in May.
Kyle Busch, one of the big 3, has had great success on mile-and-a-half tracks, but he's still looking to get in the groove as we're getting closer to the end of this season. Denny Hamlin fighting to get a win in 2018. He has a long streak of wins every year, but has been denied this year. Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr. back there in row 6. Martin Truex Jr. so good on mile-and-a-half tracks. Chase Elliott, he's already won. He's advanced to the round of 8. Clint Boyer will be fighting here in his home state for one of those positions in the round of 8. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Newman making up row 8. There's young William Byron from Charlotte, North Carolina, his rookie season here in the Monster Energy Cup Series. And let's dial up Chase Elliott on the radio, see if we can chat with him as he's rolling down pit road.
Hey, Chase, it's Burton. You have a moment to talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, man, you're locked into the next round already. How does that change your approach for today?
Well, I mean, it's certainly nice to be able to move on regardless, but it's still an important time of the year, an important race, and a lot of mile-and-a-halves coming up. So I'd say if you don't do a good job today, you got your work cut out before you're moving on.
So this is a very tough mile-and-a-half, a lot of wind today. What is going to be the biggest challenge?
I think everything's a challenge. I mean, as you know, and if you don't do it all right, don't do it all to the best of your ability, you're probably not going to win. So nowadays, there's really no room to struggle in an area. You better have it figured out, or you're not going to do real good.
Chase, really appreciate you taking time today, bud. Good luck.
Yep, thanks.
We're going to have a lot of great shots from the in-car cameras today, and cameras mounted on the roof of these cars. Chase has a Mountain Dew camera, a driver camera right there with the reverse shot. 42 of Kyle Larson has the 360 camera inside the car here, and be able to pan around and look at car. Look how he runs that high side. Coca-Cola sponsoring that camera. And Martin Truex Jr., the Bass Pro Cabela's camera. He has a side panner along with his roof cam. Side panner mounted there to the right side window. Get some great shots of that. And then Eric Jones, camera sponsored by Toyota. He'll have our helmet camera, one of my favorites. Get to really see what the driver's point of view is during the race and how they're changing lines and doing things different on restarts and so forth. And then finally, Kevin Harvick, Hunt's Brothers Pizza camera, roof cam, and he also has a driver cam. So we'll take a look at Kevin as he's working around here all day long.
And for a few more updates before we see the green flag, let's go back to Marty.
Rick, you heard Brad Keselowski say it a moment ago, when your back is against the wall, you can play off of that emotion. I would say, spending some time with Brad this morning, the emotion in the 2 camp right now, confident. He told me this is the best mile-and-a-half car we've had all year long. And Brad has done this before in this race, in this round. Talladega 2014, he won when they needed a win. He would like to pull off the must-win once again today, Parker.
Marty, the confidence is high here for the 10 team of Eric Almirola coming off that win at Talladega. They're on to the next round, but they told me we have to act like we didn't win because we need bonus points. We're at a massive deficit right now, so we need to score every bonus point we can in that next round, Kelly.
Kevin Harvick has 7 race wins this season, but has yet to do so in the playoffs. They have shown that this team is capable. They've led a lot of laps and won some stages, but today they are looking together to put together the complete package. Crew Chief Rodney Childers told me they won't be satisfied with anything less than 2 stage wins and a race win. Dave?
Kelly, when I talked to Crew Chief Cole Pern today, he told me they were focused on 2 race cars, their own, the 78 car, at one of Martin Truex's best tracks, and that of the 14 of Clint Bowyer. Bowyer starts the day 3 points ahead of them. By beating Bowyer today and getting ahead of him on the playoff grid, they can cushion any fall they might have and get to the round of 8. Rick?
Thank you, Dave, and bring in Crew Chief to break down this 400-mile race from Kansas.
Well, Rick, we've talked about the difficulty of the racetrack and the point situation. Well, let's talk about how the race itself is broken down. It's a 1.5-mile oval, 267 laps, just over 400 total miles. And those 400 miles will be broken down into stages. The first and second stage, both 80 laps in length. That leaves just a little over 100 laps on that final stage, 107 to be exact. Fuel window, 58 to 60 laps. So a little different here, Rick. At this 1.5-mile track, it's going to be a pit stop required to make the distance of any of the 3 stages.
So that means the crews are going to have to work extra hard today, and we expect nothing less than perfection. At least that's what the drivers are going to be expecting. You want to take a look at today's Mobil 1 track facts, and surprisingly, only 4 drivers have been accountable for the last 14 wins on 1.5-mile tracks. And really, if you take Brad Keselowski out of there with that 1 win, 13 of the last 14 1.5-mile tracks have been won by the Big 3. That's why they're called the Big 3, the great success that they have had.
Yeah, this is their playground. You know, these 1.5 miles have been where they've been so dominant, and that's why, you know, the challenge ahead of these guys that may need a win. That's why it's so difficult. Not only are they going to have to defeat an extremely difficult racetrack, they're going to have to beat the very best on the racetrack that they are the best. So that's just going to be a huge challenge.
Started the season off hot, the Big 3 as we call them. They were able to get out and really dominate the regular season. First 23 races, 17 wins came from these 3 drivers. Harvick, Busch, Martin Truex Jr. The last 8 races, it's been a little bit of a dry spell. They want to make sure that momentum comes back. The last 5 races at Kansas, though, 5 wins. That's right. The Big 3 have been dominant at this very racetrack. This is a great place to really get that boost in the arm as far as making the final run for the playoffs and the championship. See the Big 3? And we're going to be able to see the eyes of Kevin Harvick through his visor today. There'll be a lot of looking around. So good at this racetrack. Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch.
Rick, we keep talking about how difficult this racetrack is. Well, that's going to be made much more difficult today. In practice yesterday, the wind was blowing 180 degrees in the different direction. Now it's shifted. And now where your car was driving a certain way in 1 and 2, it's going to drive completely different, and the same in 3 and 4. So those drivers are going to have to shift. Here you go. Here's the flags yesterday on the left, blowing left to right. Today it's blowing right to left. So it's going to be a major change. The wind makes these cars drive completely different. It's going to be a difficult challenge.
Another variable that they will have to deal with. Let's listen in to Kurt Busch's radio. This was moments ago.
Your flags on the pit road look like a headwind there, and then the flag in 1 and 2 is blowing across towards turn 2. Definitely, it looks like 1 to 3 is what I would say.
So talking about the wind going from turn 1 to turn 3, that'll be behind them down the backstretch, which yesterday and Friday, the wind was in their face or on the hood when they were going from turn 2 to turn 3.
Well, the whole conversation today is going to be about the elimination, Rick.
And there is the chance somebody could win and move forward, but it's also going to be about points. This first stage, 80 laps. And remember, at the end of stage 1 and stage 2, the top 10 on the track will receive points, with first place receiving 10 points, 10th place 1 point. We saw drivers tie in the last round, Rick. These points could be vital to advance and still have a chance at a championship.
Yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, we saw how important the initial start of the race was. There was championship contenders that got caught up in a wreck going through turn 1 and turn 2. Well, the field 2 by 2 as they go in front of the grandstands here at Kansas Speedway. Elimination day at Kansas. We're underway, 400 miles in front of us. Joey Logano jumps out to the lead. Everyone tucked along that white line with the exception of Eric Jones in the 20, Eric Almirola in the 10. Those two side by side right now for 4th. Almirola goes all the way to the apron trying to get an advantage.
What you can see already, though, is even early in this race, Eric Jones in that red car on the outside is able to make pace on the outside. A lot of racetracks you go to, it takes laps before you can do that. At this racetrack, you can go there immediately.
Every position on the track matters. You see points as they run. Don't have to worry about the 10 and the 9. They have won and advanced already into the round of 8. Everyone else fighting for either the win, which will guarantee a spot in the round of 8, or the points that they can accumulate. And every spot is worth a point.
It's a great shot right here of Eric Jones. See Keselowski on the inside of him.
And slow on the track, the 19 of Daniel Suarez definitely off the pace.
Yeah, Rick, he made heavy contact with the wall off turn 2. The 88 was right behind him running the top, and right in front of the 88, the 19 slides up and makes serious contact right here. Look at the 88 of Alex Bowman in a must-win situation, and right in front of him early, the 19 of Daniel Suarez. A little damage on the right front of that 88.
There it is at high speed. Daniel, that corner exit on turn 2, man, you can really lose the race car. You see Daniel chasing that race car. Same place we saw the guys in the Xfinity Series get in trouble yesterday early in the race.
Suarez and their crew on pit road. Marty.
And Alex Bowman does have some damage. Good eyes, Steve. Yes, they did say 12 o'clock on that right front fender, straight up and down. There is a little damage. I don't know how much that's going to affect them during the race. But again, one of these playoff drivers in a must-win scenario, and a little damage for that 88 early on.
Dale, you and I used to have this conversation all the time. We come to a 1.5 mile track like Kansas, where as these tires wear, we expect these drivers to go right up against the wall. Manage your equipment, right? This is a 400-mile race. I know there's speed against the wall, but you can't make contact. The 88 obviously had nothing to do with it, contact with Suarez, but other drivers are going to have to manage that distance to the wall.
Yeah, you're going to get up there, and it's going to be faster. The higher you get, the closer you get to the wall, there's a little extra speed with every inch. You get close to the fence, but you pay that price and risk making a mistake. See what Larson's doing right here. He's been working his way from the back of the field, running on the bottom of 3 and 4 here behind Austin Dillon.
There's a backup car for Kyle Larson. Had an accident. You see already up 15 positions, so making sure work. His teammate Jamie McMurray, both Chip Ganassi cars had to start in the back. Jamie McMurray had an engine issue. Marty.
And I talked to his crew chief, Chad Johnson, talking about Kyle Larson about this backup car. He said, honestly, it's not run all year long. It's been on our truck as our 1.5 mile backup for almost the entire year. And because of that, and Steve, you know how this is the case, it doesn't have all the updates that our primary car had on it with all the aero things that you put in. You're almost updating those things every week. He said it would be impossible for us to keep the backup car that updated, so you can understand, not quite as good as what the primary was, but Kyle Larson makes up for a lot of speed here at Kansas.
It might not be the exact car that they want to be racing, but so far this 42 car looks very solid, and no surprise where Kyle Larson is making up a majority of that race, or excuse me, a majority of that time running at the top of the racetrack. Dale, he just seems so comfortable up there.
Yeah, he's one of the best at running the high side. I think his dirt background really helps him out because on the dirt track, you know, they have to chase the groove, and find the cushion and things like that. So, and I feel that running the top on these mile-and-a-half racetracks must be very similar to what it feels like to run the cushion on a dirt track, and you use the same thing with throttle and so forth. So, it seems to come natural to him.
And I wonder, I agree that Kyle Larson is very talented up there, but his teammate, Jamie McMurray, also runs so well against the top of the racetrack. You wonder if Chip Ganassi Racing can focus on their setups or their approach that allows both drivers to run up there.
I think if you asked Larson, he would tell you he'd prefer to run the bottom, but his car would work the bottom the best, so he didn't have to go to the top. The top's sort of like a last resort or a second, preference. When you're looking for speed, you'd really rather make it on the bottom. And he's talked about that. He runs the high side less this year because he thinks they have improved their cars. Back up front.
Yeah, we talked about running different lines, and the reason you do that is it's faster. You find a place where your car is faster, but also it helps you try to get around cars. This is one of those racetracks that's very difficult to pass. You see almost in the wall from the back of the 20 car. You saw him looking back at Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch was flirting with hitting that wall. But you can see Daniel Suarez has pulled out in front of Eric Jones, and Eric Jones has not been able to get by him. This is the place that's hard to pass. So you'll see those drivers move around, find different lanes to try to make that pass.
Joey Logano out front after winning the pole. Blaney and Harvick running in the top three. It's NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Hollywood Casino 400. NASCAR Drive is your live race day companion. Watch throughout the broadcast and ride along with in-car video of your favorite drivers. Never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive, or you can download the NASCAR mobile app today. Want to take a look at some Outback curbside takeaways from Kansas. We've mentioned the big three a few times, winning the last 5 races here at Kansas. Then the last 2 Kansas races actually have been won from the pole. That's good for Joey Logano, who started up front, staying up front now. The last 3 Kansas playoff races, the driver who's led the most laps did not win the race. And Kevin Harvick, if he places in the top 10 today, you get a free bloomin' onion with purchase on Bloomin' Monday.
Me and Steve sitting in here talking about Alex Bowman running the high side. He's making a lot of good ground on these guys, but then Kyle Busch jumped up in that high groove and sort of stalled out Bowman. Just shows you the difference that having a car in front of you can make.
Yeah, Junior, when Kyle Busch jumped up to the outside, by the way, after doing it for 2 laps, he ran the fastest lap.
Yep.
So it took him about a lap to figure out how to do it on the top, and once he figured it out, he ran the fastest lap, and that lap he was second fastest, and that just took away a ton of speed from Bowman. Marty.
And Jeff, there's a risk versus reward of running that high line, right? Yes, there's speed up there, but you can make contact with the wall, and that's what Kyle Busch did about 5 laps ago. Brushed the wall, not too bad, but again, still churning out some fast lap times despite that contact with the wall.
Right now it's a Ford parade up front. Logano, Blaney, Harvick, Almirola, Keselowski, they're filling the top 5 positions. And Eric Jones, Kyle Busch running back in 6th and 7th. Bowman, the top Chevrolet driver, running 8th right now. And then Boyer and Denny Hamlin rounding out the top 10. Denny Hamlin back there in the 10th position. Hamlin in a must-win situation as well. Not for the playoffs because he's no longer in them, but for his streak that he has. Denny Hamlin has won a race every single year he has been in the Cup Series except this one. And now only with this race counting, only 5 races to go before the end of the season to keep that streak alive.
Yeah, behind Hamlin is Martin Truex Jr., who's kind of struggling right now, I'd say, Steve. I mean, they've had such dominant cars here the last 3 races, and he's lost a position to Bowman and now Hamlin.
And that's kind of the story of the 78. They've been so good at these mile-and-a-half tracks for so long. I thought Chase was going to hit the wall there as well. We just come to expect this car leading, dominating, winning stages, and something's just not quite there for the 78 in the recent months.
Yeah, and behind the 78 guys was Chase Elliott, but then behind him was Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch in that 41 car, he's down in 13th spot, and we haven't mentioned a whole lot about Kurt being in a danger position of being knocked out of the playoffs, but a bad run here today could put a tremendous amount of pressure on that team, Dave.
Want to update you guys on that 78 car. It wasn't 3 laps into today's race that Martin Truex radioed in real tight off. Can't turn the car coming up off the corner. And that was one thing they worked on, was a short run, getting off to a good start on these runs, but it hasn't gone well so far, and the 78 is in a little bit of trouble. Meanwhile, up front, the 22 of Joey Logano with a second. Yeah, that was close. A second lead over second place Ryan Blaney, and learning about what others are doing. He said, I don't want to be late to the party. What party was he talking about? When others start making time in the top groove, and spotter TJ Majors has been making sure he keeps Joey apprised of where the faster cars are running. Obviously, Joey's one of them right now.
You mentioned that bat. Well, Alex Bowman finally has worked his way around Kyle Busch.
Up into the wall is the 88. Bowman into the wall as he was trying to run along the fence.
You're still good. Well, that was the risk versus reward we just got from Marty. Is that it is faster up there, but on lap 25 of a 267 lap race, is it worth it to be there? And that's the risk you run. But if you're in a must-win like Bowman, you have to go every single lap.
Yeah, his risk versus reward scale is different than most every other car in the field. The 42 of Larson, the 88 of Bowman. Second is no good for these cars. So whatever it's going to take, and you see it hasn't shaken him. He's still up there. Doesn't seem quite as good, but still working the top. And right there, Dale just went a little too hard on entry, it seems.
Absolutely. When he gets right up against the wall like that, there's a little bit of a cushion of air in between the car and the wall, and it helps. It adds side force as you compress the air there. Here we see Kyle Busch come off of turn 2 tight, it looks like. Gets in the fence. Marty.
Yeah, that was a contact earlier that we mentioned for the 18 car. But, Steve, don't you think that's a product of drivers needing to make something happen? They certainly know they have to win the race today. They have to get all the points they can. So trying to find speed every lap and trying to make something happen for Alex Bowman.
Well, it's the needing to make something happen and the carrot. The higher you go, the faster you go. But, Rick, up there all the way at the top is that white safer barrier, and it is not going to take care of your race car.
It's dangerous. They're going over 200 miles an hour when they enter turn 1. An issue for the 95 of Regan Smith put him on the pit road. He had an uncontrolled tire. That penalty was served. Ford has been dominant this season and dominant today, holding the top 5 positions, landing also in victory lane 16 times, thanks to drivers Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Clint Boyer, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, and Eric Almirola. Right now, Ford has 7 drivers in the top 10 in points, and they're all competing to secure a spot in the championship 4 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Ford also giving you an opportunity to make it to Homestead. Go to NASCAR.com/Ford to enter for your chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Ford Championship Weekend in Miami. It will be a VIP experience of a lifetime. There's Clint Boyer.
Big battle right here. Clint Boyer running in 10th spot. Remember, he needs to earn points in this stage, and Chase Elliott is putting all kinds of pressure on him. Parker.
That he does, Jeff. You know, Dale Jr. at the beginning in the pre-race mentioned how there was opportunity for Blaney and Keselowski with Boyer starting in 14th. Well, he squashed that opportunity early and drove all the way up to 8th, 6 spots immediately to start the race, but he started to fall back a little bit here. We may have an insight as to why if you take a listen to his radio.
Carson's trying to work higher, but it's not any faster right now than where we're running. I've seen some guys go up there. They don't look any slower or faster. Honestly, it looks about the same at this point. Yesterday it took about 20 laps.
That is his spotter, Brett Griffin, telling him about that. Basically, the higher line not working, but you see him running on the bottom. He's been too tight in the bottom, maybe a little too loose up top, but I think not being able to get that top line and make it work is holding back because he's now just still outside the top 10 being passed by Chase Elliott.
Well, the point of reference, Parker, was the 42. This purple and black car, a little different colors on the 42 this week, but this is a backup car for Kyle Larson, started at the back of the field, and look at the progression. As the tires have worn and he's gone to the top, he is starting to make up time and make up time quickly. Currently in the 14th position. I'm not sure if the 42 won't make it all the way inside the top 10 in this first stage, Marty.
And Steve, an interesting point. They also started in the back here in the spring. They were in the top 10 within 30 laps, but Chad Johnston made a great point to me. That day, they started on brand new sticker tires. Everybody else in the field had to start on used tires. Since that race, NASCAR has changed that rule, so everybody is on stickers. He told me it's going to be tougher to get to the top 10 today, and that's proving true. Right now, they've only made it to 14.
Green flag pit stops look like they're taking place now a little bit earlier than what we would have expected, Dave.
First strategy play by the 78 car of Martin Truex. And interestingly, on lap 28, he was the one scraping the wall. And then a couple laps later, he found a fast way around, fastest lap of the race on that particular lap by running a seam that he hadn't run before. He told the crew chief that. So here an adjustment for him, 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, guys. They can go till about lap 60. They pit here on lap 37.
And no surprise, Rick, the first playoff car pit, what's that do? That drags the other playoff cars in, Marty.
Everybody coming down pit road now. They'll be here within the next couple laps. Kyle Larson say his car gets tighter every lap, shoving the nose, especially into turn 3. They're going to make a right side wedge adjustment and air pressure as well, Parker.
Same thing for the 14 car of Clint Boyer here. Just too tight right now. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel, and try and loosen up with an air pressure adjustment, Kelly.
Kevin Harvick pits from 3rd. He said his 4 car was just a little bit too tight getting to the center of the corners, and it was tight getting to the throttle to get off the corners. He also said he was losing rear grip as he ran. It looks like a chassis adjustment for the 4.
Kyle Busch with contact on the wall a little bit earlier. Not too bad. You see it at the back end of the car, the right rear there. Car just a little bit too tight for him. 4 fresh Goodyear tires for the 18 car, Kelly.
Chase Elliott said his 9 car fired off a little bit loose in the back end and was lazy up front, but he said it's okay running up top. 4 Goodyear tires and fuel for the 9.
Brad Keselowski also on pit road, Kelly. They were running a little bit better towards the end of that run. He said I had to go around the number 7 car, Reed Sorensen, who was stalled at the end of pit road to get into his stall for Keselowski. 4 fresh Goodyear tires and an air pressure adjustment trying to free it up, Parker.
You see Eric Almirola leaving it. Oh, we have the 15 of Ross Chastain getting on pit road oddly.
The back, guys, 10 away.
Yeah, I think he got in the fence in turn 3 and 4. Let's take a look at what happened here.
See what we got.
Still green.
Chastain's going to go behind the wall.
Yeah, hard in the wall. A lot of debris coming off the back of that car. Right in the middle of the cycle, man. That's what you don't want, Steve.
No. Yeah. Well, a caution hasn't come out, so that's still good for a lot of people.
Yeah, but that is a concern, a caution in the middle of the pit cycle. That's why A.J. Allmendinger, the 43 of Wallace, 48 of Johnson, you see the names that are at the top of the leaderboard. That's what they're hoping for. They need that yellow to try to bunch themselves up, gain a little bit of spots back to the rest of the field. But one driver that needed to have a good run in this first stage, that 14 of Clint Boyer, had a slow pit stop. He's recovering pretty well on the racetrack. Car has good fire-off speed, but he had a little over 16-second pit stop, gave up 2.5 seconds to the field.
Out in front right now, because they haven't come to pit road, is the 47 of A.J. Allmendinger. Bubba Wallace in the 43, currently running second. Michael McDowell in the 34 is third. Trevor Bayne, Matt DiBenedetto, David Reagan, all in the top 6. They have not come to pit road for their service yet.
Rick, that's an important pass by the 14 and the 42 because they've unlapped themselves. If the yellow came out, they're now back on the lead lap. Even though the 47 hasn't pitted, those cars have had such good speed, they have unlapped themselves after their pit stop.
Yeah, Steve, the other thing that was important about that round of green flag pit stops is no penalties. Everybody was clean. We've seen in so many of these races, early pit stops, people have penalties, make mistakes. Last round in this stage of the playoffs, not a single mistake on that round of pit stops.
And all of the playoff drivers have been to pit road and back out onto the track. A.J. Allmendinger leading at Kansas. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Mountain Dew. Do the Dew. Well, yesterday, Mountain Dew threw a special event for NASCAR fans here in Kansas. Dew athletes Danny Davis and Sean Malto were on site with Dew teammates Chase Elliott and Dale Earnhardt Jr. celebrating the race weekend, as well as getting into a good debate about Kansas City barbecue. Well, Sean and Danny are also at the track today to cheer on Chase in his Mountain Dew paint scheme with the rest of Dew Nation as he makes his run at the title. There they are. And Chase in that Mountain Dew paint scheme. And Chase Elliott's looked very strong, currently running in the 10th position. But again, in front of him, there are 4 drivers that have not been to pit road yet. Now, Allmendinger on pit road has given up the lead. Out in front now, it's Bubba Wallace.
And we're showing Alex Bowman earlier running that top, making a lot of time. And we mentioned no penalties on the pit stops, but a few bad pit stops, and Alex Bowman was one of them. He had almost a 20-second pit stop, lost 7 spots on the racetrack, and then trying to aggressively work himself up to the front. Watch what happens on the front straightaway, kind of working around some slower cars. Has a decision to make. Do I go to the bottom? Where am I going to go? Decides he wants to go on the outside. Doesn't really judge this exactly right. A little bit of contact. I don't think any damage, but the last few laps have not gone well for Alex Bowman.
Hit the nose of that 96 of Jeffrey Earnhardt as he went up. And Logano has worked his way back up to the lead as he was able to get by Bubba Wallace. So now Bubba Wallace, after he has lost the lead, more than likely will be on his way to pit road. He is one of the drivers, as well as McDowell, that haven't been to pit road yet. Dave?
Rick, I talked to Crew Chief Todd Gordon about the success of the 22 team here and Joey Logano. 2 wins to his credit here. And Todd said one of the things is, I just believe that these race cars are designed to race a track like this. When they reconfigured it in 2012 to good banking, but not super high banking, progressive banking, and then the center of gravity of these race cars, it just makes for a good show. And our team adapted well early, and he was Joey's crew chief since about that time, a year later maybe. So they've done a lot of racing here and have gotten good.
Joey's teammate Ryan Blaney is running in second place, matching Joey for lap time for the most part, about a 1.5 seconds back. Can't really close in, but still 27 laps to go in this stage, and he's sitting there in position to score points. Second place points for the stage, and the guy he's worried about, Boyer, is not in position to score any stage points in this first stage. So Blaney could race his way in by doing this well. He doesn't have to win this race. This is what he needs to do all day long to outpoint Boyer to be able to transfer in that next round.
Junior, you keep bringing up points, and we look on the left of the screen. Right now, one of the big 3 is below the cutoff line. Martin Truex Jr. currently below the cutoff line. So as everything continues to shake out after these green flag pit stops, Martin Truex Jr., who very surprisingly we thought would have a great run here at this racetrack, Martin Truex Jr. running 10th and currently in a tie at that cutoff spot. Now they will go, if it is a tie at the end of the race, they'll go to the most recent race finishes. So the last race finishes in this stage, they'll look to see who has the best. That is the tiebreaker.
Rick, these big 3, as we see the left rear tire rub on the 43 car, definite damage there. He comes to pit road. Does a nice job of coming to pit road. They'll have to change tires on this car, pull out that quarter panel. Back to the 78 and the big 3. You know, at the beginning of the year, they were so dominant, the instant conversation was who's going to be the 4th to join them in Miami. But we talked on NASCAR America, Jeff, you and I didn't think that 3 could make it. We've seen
big
so much
William
trouble.
Byron.
Oh, that looks like an engine failure right there for the 24. If it is, that'd be the 2nd for that company.
Coming to you on pit road here, smoking big.
Oh, man. That's not what you want to see if you're another
Chase
car.
Elliott.
Yeah, Chase Elliott, Kyle
right
Larson.
there.
Oh, yeah. There, man, that's a pretty good job there.
In the garage.
Sliding into the garage, you see the fluid coming out from underneath and behind that car, so they will do some work on the racetrack to have to clean that up. But an engine expiring for William Byron.
Yeah, we saw the same thing with the one car in practice. Dumped a ton of fluid out of the race car. It looks like a similar issue with how much fluid's out of that race car. Bubba Wallace had some damage to the left rear quarter panel on his car as he come to pit road. We saw that. Here's his pit stop. A little bit too close to the...
That was a mess. It's going to be hard to get to that left front tire. We're going to have a traffic jam going around the front of the car here. Excuse me. Just costing time. Now, look, you can't jack the car up, making a troublesome situation worse. You have to be very careful here leaving. Make sure there's enough room.
My goodness.
See right here. Oh, no.
Okay. That's how he got the damage that he had to come back into the
Yes.
pits for. I was wondering if a car had made contact with him on the racetrack, but there you see how that happens.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned how clean pit stops were for the green flag cycle. 23 to go in this stage. These drivers are going to need another set of clean pit stops.
Yeah, you guys were talking about the situation that Boyer's in. Well, guess what? His teammate, Kurt Busch, he's not in a much better position. He's lost a lot of spots, running all the way back in 16th. So I think they were really glad to see this caution to maybe come in, work on this car, get a chance to make it better. They were going the wrong way, and they were much slower than their competition. They've got some serious work to do on this car.
So, Jeff, right there before the engine of William Byron expired. I was talking about the big three. You and I had this conversation, right? Would they make it to Miami? And I just don't think there's a seat at the table for all three of them. While their numbers are impressive, we know how difficult the playoffs are. A win and you advance. We've just seen too many things. Would anyone have picked Eric Almirola and Chase Elliott to win the first two races this round? I wouldn't have not. So the 78 is now the biggest name probably, or definitely the best performing car year long that we see down around the cut line.
Yeah, also to make that point even more, just right in your face, you can't ignore it, is that the last three winners in our series they've got their second win of their careers. So people have stepped up in this playoffs, putting pressure on this big three. I agree with you, Steve. They're not going to just be able to walk into Miami with a chance to win a championship. Marty.
Hey guys, there you saw William Byron pull into the garage area. Well, there is oil all down pit road. That affects 4 race teams, including Eric Jones, and of championship note, Brad Keselowski. So there's oil right in front of his pit stall. He'll either have to go through that oil or speedy dry, which NASCAR is trying to now put down on pit road. Eric Jones' team trying to literally clean their stall. You see them cleaning it right there because he drove through their stall to get to the garage area. Steve, you had to deal with this before. That can be a little dicey here on pit road, can it?
Very. It can be very dicey, not only getting into your box, out of your box, traction for the car and the crew. It's definitely made a mess. The crew there, they're working hard to try to get it cleaned up.
Well, Sunday Night Football is just down the road from Kansas Speedway at Arrowhead Stadium. Andy Dalton and the Bengals will visit Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Football night in America, that's 7 o'clock Eastern. And kickoff at 8:20 p.m. tonight only on NBC. We're going to be able to join them at Arrowhead Stadium. And a few drivers have voiced their opinions as who's going to win tonight.
Sunday Night Football on NBC. Home, Kansas City Chiefs right after the Cup race. Can't wait. My butt's going to be over there. My wife and I are going to be over to watch the Kansas City Chiefs put the hurting on the Bengals. Can't wait.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a couple guys on my team who are pretty big Chiefs fans, and the Patrick Mahomes kid is pretty good. But I think whoever scores the most points is going to win that deal. That's my prediction.
All right, folks, we're 2 for 2 now. I told you the GOAT was going to bring home the win against the Young Gun last week. But this week, it's all about Mahomes against those Bengals. We're going to see him light it up again at home in Kansas City. Watch it on Sunday Night Football on NBC.
Ryan Blaney, pretty assertive there with his prediction.
Yeah, he sold it.
It was accurate.
Oh, man.
Yep. pre-race. There's Cash with the Chiefs hat.
Clint Boyer with a few
Hey,
drinks in the
Chiefs
football
fan.
game.
Yeah, Boyer's ready for this game tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got some business on the track to tend to, but he's excited about going.
Well, I know he wants to go over there in a good mood.
Yeah.
And right now, I know he's not.
You're
He's
right
just
about
can't
that.
be in a good mood at the moment.
Blaney's car is a lot closer to Chiefs red than normal this weekend, too, you know?
That is correct. Regular colors on Blaney's car this week. And again, mentioned Clint Boyer. Of course, he's going to be a Chiefs fan. He's from right here in Emporia, Kansas. Well, the NASCAR shop will help you take your fandom to the next level. And we know the fans love to wear drivers' gear. You can get the latest t-shirts, jackets, hats, and die-casts. All you have to do is go to NASCAR.com/shop for all of your favorite drivers' gear.
If you're at home wondering why this caution is taking so long, all that oil that Marty talked about being on pit road, NASCAR's trying to get it cleaned up. So they put a ton of Speedy Dry on pit road. Now they're trying to get those vacuum trucks to get it cleaned up, Marty.
And the cause of all that, William Byron back here in the garage area. I did check with the team. Obviously, it is an engine failure. It is not an experimental engine that Hendrick Motorsports is running. You see all the oil down there. It is the same package in the 9 and 88 cars as well. So obviously a little concern for Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and everybody here at Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I would assume that they may try something in this 24 car and maybe even the one car, McMurray, that had trouble earlier this weekend. Kelly.
All right, so we'll see these cars come back down to pit road, including the 4 of Kevin Harvick, who was very curious about how his lap times compared. He was running some of the fastest ones at the end of that run. Well, after a wedge and air pressure adjustment last time, he said the balance on the 4 car was really pretty good, so no changes, just 4 Goodyear tires and fuel, Dave.
Second place, Ryan Blaney, already gone in the 12 car. He said turns 1 and 2 amazing, turns 3 and 4 loose off. Lito Logano, he will take 4 tires, and that will cost him some time, Rick.
And the race off pit road brought to you by Kroger Click List. You see 2 tire stops getting Blaney, Almirola, and Keselowski positions. It's Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Kansas. Telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Elimination Sunday. 4 drivers that are part now of the round of 12 will have their championship hopes dashed. And take a look at how aggressive this crew member is.
I'm not sure if he was going to the right side or had work to do, but He was playing chicken with his driver, Martin Truex Jr. Race cars always win, Rick. I don't suggest that.
The field's really shook up right here. Stenhouse Jr. stayed out. He's on old tires.
Field approaching the Geico restart zone now. Stenhouse Jr. and Blaney making up row one.
Oh.
Stenhouse Jr. not going. Blaney on the inside. A good restart.
Be interesting how NASCAR views that restart for Blaney on that inside line with the control car being Stenhouse. Like
Remember, the rule is as long as the leader launches first, that's what the rule is. There's no rule about beating them to the line or any of that. It's just the leader has to start first.
Absolutely, and it looked like Stenhouse spun the tires really bad. NASCAR says the restart's good, so Blaney's going to take advantage of that, try to go out here and win this stage, try to put as many points on the board as he can.
I tell you who's taking advantage of this restart, Clint Boyer. He's driven up to 7th place right now. There you see him right behind Kyle Busch.
Yeah, that's pretty good because he restarted 11th. That inside line's not been that good on restarts. The outside line's been the more dominant line, but he's taking advantage of it. Whatever opportunities presented to him on this restart, he's done some good job. Marty.
And Junior, the line you're in on a restart means everything. Paul Wolf made the call for 2 tires with Brad Keselowski, but then he was stuck behind the 17, couldn't go anywhere. And look at all this momentum he has lost. He restarted 4th, now he's in 9th.
Yeah, he's in 9th place with old left side tires. You want to be up toward the front with that used left side tire on. The further back you go, the dirtier the air gets and the worse his car's going to drive.
Restarts are always important, but after a strategy call, they're absolutely vital. I mean, you have to plan that you're ahead of these fresh tires. You see how easily Jimmy Johnson just turns left underneath Brad Keselowski. Right now, it's just try to reduce as much damage as possible and don't damage your race car. Get to the end of this stage.
Keselowski has fallen out of the top 10. That's where you get points at the end of the stage. Harvick moving up to 3rd. He gets by Almirola heading toward the front again. Blaney and Logano 1 and 2. Harvick 3rd.
Yeah,
Almirola, Kyle Busch the top 5.
Logano's closing in on Blaney. Trying to take that position back. He's been leading this race since we dropped the green flag, and he got the speed on Blaney right now, but interesting to see the lines these guys choose. If Blaney will choose a defensive line, make it more challenging for Logano.
And Blaney's got 2 tires. He only put 2 tires on trying to get this stage win. Logano's got 4. Harvick from behind has 4 as well.
And they're marching toward the front.
Logano chooses to run the same line there as Blaney, a little bit lower, keeping that left front headlight out in the clean air. Gets a good run on him right here.
And if Logano's going to get underneath him to make this pass, the sooner he can do it, the better. As these tires get older, if Blaney ever gets up to the top, it'll make it that much more difficult.
Good exit for Logano here. He's closing in just a little bit at a time.
And that's the goal, isn't it, Junior? You don't try to get it all at one time.
Oh,
you just
here it is.
little bit. Good run on the bottom. Try to carry the speed. Stay with that left rear quarter panel. Can't quite stay there.
Little wiggle out of Ryan Blaney, and Logano will follow him down to the apron as they enter turn 1 at nearly 200 miles an hour.
Boyer's up to 6 now, so Blaney has to know or needs that information that this is critical to hold on to this position. Every point matters. We say that over and over, but it's so true. You can't give up this lead to Logano with the opportunity to win with 10 laps to go, coming to 9 to go in the end of this stage.
Logano jumped to the top. He was the first one to go there.
He's gonna have a great run right here. Blaney's gonna block him. He had a run on the top, and Blaney moved up and blocked it.
And
now Blaney will go to the top. No, he went to the bottom.
These two are teammates. They run out of the same organization, the Penske organization, fighting for this lead and potentially the stage win.
I think Blaney's going to have to go to the top down here in 3 and 4. There he goes.
Oh, man, Blaney in the throttle. 22 car turns so good. He's going to be almost to his door. Yeah, he's going to side draft. Blaney's got to get down here on the quarter panel of that 22 if he wants to side draft off into turn 1.
22 cleared him. 22 used that apron, made the straightaway shorter. That cleared him by the 12. Now Blaney turning left. Not enough momentum, though.
And you watch the points on the left. Blaney a point out because of that pass right there.
Now Blaney has to be worried about Kevin Harvick behind him, who's closed in while these two guys have battled. There you see Harvick. He could get up here and take another point away from Blaney.
These D-shaped ovals, like you see this front straightaway, it's such a turn that if you can just turn left down the straightaway and just go across the apron, it shortens up that straightaway by so much. Logano used that to get by the 12 car.
Little wiggle again out of Ryan Blaney in the 12, the 22, now pulling away as Harvick is closing in on Ryan Blaney for that second spot.
And behind Harvick, Clint Boyer's found some speed. He's improved the competitiveness of his car, and he's closing in on 5th place Almirola. So this is so critical for Blaney to try to hang on to this position over Kevin Harvick.
You mentioned it's critical for Ryan Blaney, another car that this caution has really helped out. The 14 of Clint Boyer back in 6th, running 11th before the yellow, between the pit decisions, the restart and everything, currently running 6th. That's plus 5 positions. More importantly, puts him in the points in the stage as he works underneath his teammate Eric Almirola in the 10. Parker.
And Steve, his team came across radio, and you could hear the intensity. They said, we've got to eat. You can't just defend. We need these points. They've been willing them on each and every position.
Yeah, but Paul Menard behind this 14. He's run up to the top. He's going to make it hard on Boyer. Got a big run right here. Paul playing nice, staying on the top. Let's see what Clint does. Clint is going to go back to the bottom.
Any other race, and Clint Boyer lets that 21 car have the outside on the back straightaway. But Clint Boyer knows how important this is. Look, he's going to pull up in front of him here, knowing the 21's got incredible momentum. He's not going to be able to stop it, though.
Clint Boyer looking for every point.
Clint needs a really good 1 and 2. If he could beat Menard off of 2, which I don't think he's going to be able to, then he could have jumped up on the outside. Needed to get to the top a little sooner.
Yeah, I'm surprised he stayed at the bottom after he blocked the 21 down the backstretch. I thought we were going to see him go to the top of the racetrack. Once again, he goes to the bottom. The 21 just gets such a great drive off the corner. You see on the right, almost the inevitable. We knew Kevin Harvick was coming. He's now taking the 2nd position from Ryan Blaney.
Kevin Harvick, one of the fastest all weekend, now has moved up into the 2nd spot. It's Logano and Harvick. This is how Harvick made the pass.
Harvick, typical Kevin Harvick, left side tires right on that white line. Took the air off the back of the 12 car. Blaney had to chase it. Fight's over right there. That shoving that nose underneath the quarter panel of the 12 car takes the air off the spoiler. Now Blaney cannot accelerate. Harvick takes advantage.
Well, why are these battles so intense? Because there's 2 laps to go in the end of stage 1. That means in 2 more laps, points will be awarded to the top 10 cars. 10 points to win the stage, 1 point for 10th. This is the cut race, the elimination race, Rick. These points, you're guaranteed, right? If you finish in the end of stage 1 in the top 10, you start to fill your bucket with points.
Well, the mile-and-a-half master that we keep talking about, who's coming to a racetrack that he's always so good on, Martin Truex Jr., he is out of the top 10. So a guy we would think would be running well as we see the assault of 10. But I don't know what's happened to the 14. He's got a lot of people right behind him, but you would think that Martin Truex Jr. would be in the top 10 easily.
Yeah, Clint Boyer in the 48 and Jimmy Johnson just had a heck of a battle in 3 and 4.
There's Logano on the left side of your screen. He is going to cruise to the stage 1 victory. So Logano's going to gain those 10 points. A strong run in stage 1 also for Kevin Harvick, coming home in 2nd. Blaney, Kyle Busch, Menard all grabbing points. Menard not in the playoffs. Almirola is, as well as Boyer and Chase Elliott.
How about Paul Menard having a really good day in 5th place?
Joey Logano coming into this race had a 39-point advantage over the cut line and now wins stage 1.
Down a dream that never would come to me. Working on a mystery, going wherever it leads. Running down a dream.
Manifest is TV's #1 news show, and the mystery of Flight 828 is just getting started. What one passenger saw on that flight will change everything. Manifest, new tomorrow on NBC. It's Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Kansas. This telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Pit Road now is open, and it's getting very busy. Kelly.
With that second place finish in stage 1, Kevin Harvick has now secured his spot in the next round of the playoffs, and he was pretty happy with that 4-car, although he said he needs just a little bit more grip getting through the corners on both ends. This is going to be 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for that 4-car. Dave?
8 stage points for Ryan Blaney, but he wanted so much more, but the car was just too tight, so they're going to make adjustments for that this time. 4 Goodyear tires this time for Blaney. As for Joey Logano, a little tighter over that run, and he said the wind is turning my car too. Can't adjust for the wind, but they will get 4 fresh Goodyear tires and fill it full of Sunoco.
Race off pit road, and it's busy. You see 4 tire stops for everyone. No position changes out of Logano and Harvick, but Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney will exchange a position. Martin Truex Jr., a great stop for the 78 team. Take a look at this.
Yeah, before the caution come out, Jimmy Johnson trying to get a position on Clint Boyer, but Clint Boyer gets on that quarter panel, racing him hard for this position and that point. And then you see Jimmy after the caution comes out. What's going on, buddy?
Clint said, I got a point, man. I got to have it.
Welcome back to Kansas Stage 1 complete. There is the schedule for post-race, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. It's just a matter of which drivers will we be saying are moving on, because this is Elimination Sunday. Joey Logano on the pole, wins Stage 1. One of our storylines from the pre-race atop the Peacock pit box was, is there enough room at the inn for the trio of drivers from Penske? Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano battling for that stage win. Joey Logano edging him out. But then you have, where is Brad Keselowski? Brad Keselowski, currently 14th, doesn't get any of those stage points. Another storyline, the big 3. We told you they have won the last 5 races here at Kansas. They're all still in the mix, all finishing in the top 10 in that first stage. So what will we see in stage 2? It's the same amount of laps, 80 laps in stage 2 before a 107 lap stage 3. It is going to be exciting. If that first stage, guys, is anything what we're going to see in this next one, we've got some great racing coming up.
And you've got a great seat right there, Krista. We're
a little bit of wind.
Yeah, a little bit of wind. We're looking forward to stage 1 as we see this, or stage 2 as we see the stage 1 results. Joey Logano getting the 10 points from that stage, as well as you see the +1. That's a playoff point. That will advance into the next round as long as Joey Logano advances into the next round. But you see all of the names in yellow, all playoff drivers that were able to gain valuable points in that first stage. And getting ready for, as Krista mentioned, the stage 2 start, Logano and Harvick leading the field to the Geico restart zone. Logano once again making that high line work on the restart, and he has the advantage over the 4. A little bit of close racing there between Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick for second. They stay side by side through 3 and 4. Here comes the 18 of Kyle Busch.
See, Kevin Harvick's going to try to turn left to get away from Blaney. Blaney turned left to do the same thing to try to keep him attached. Blaney knows that it's going to be hard for Harvick down here on the bottom of the racetrack.
Wow, look at Blaney. Blaney really kind of cut him off there.
Blaney's got to go. He knows what he's got to get done today. He's just not going to give anybody room.
Harvick had to cut him a break.
Blaney right now outside of the top 8 in points. You see the 12, 5 points down to the 14 of Clint Boyer. And again, everybody fighting for points and position here in this elimination race.
That's confidence in Blaney, man. If I can clear that 4 car, which is the best car in the sport right now, I can drive away from him. So he has a lot of confidence in his car, knows exactly what he needs to accomplish today.
How about that purple car right there? Kyle Larson starting to come in the picture a little bit. Up to 7th place.
Well, I know he has 5 career wins, Rick, but if this 42 car, Marty, could go to victory lane in a backup, in a must-win, and advance to the playoffs, it would have to be the biggest win of his career.
Well, remember, Steve, he told me before the race it has to be the perfect race for me to be able to do that. Clearly a good racetrack for Kyle Larson. The car has been way too free for him, but incredible if they could pull that off. The game they know they have to win. He's trying to run that high line, get it to work. You see he's higher than anyone trying to create that speed.
Matter of seconds, he can back up. I think Kevin Harvick's a little frustrated by that move of Blaney kind of running him tight there in 1 and 2, and it looks like Harvick driving down here trying to catch him.
One thing we haven't seen from Kevin Harvick yet today, and this is kind of Kevin Harvick. He knows it's a long race. He doesn't put his car in jeopardy early in the race unless he has to. We've seen him pretty much locked around the bottom. Be interesting to see as this race goes on if we don't see him up there by that wall on old tires.
I'm not a fan of this line of Ryan Blaney's. I know his car might perform better just off the white line, but I feel like he leaves that air for the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Look how much lower the 4 is able to run. I know it only looks like a couple feet, but that air to that left front fender on corner entry, I think allows Kevin Harvick to make the corner more successfully.
Well, that lap to 12 did go to the bottom of the racetrack, and look, it gapped him just a little bit.
Kelly mentioned earlier the 4 gaining any valuable points they could in stage 1 would lock them into the round of 8. And so based on points and the points that the 4 has already gained through stage 1, Kevin Harvick is assured a spot in the round of 8. So now 3 drivers have locked themselves in, the 2 that have won in Almirola, as well as Chase Elliott. And now Kevin Harvick is locked into the round of 8. Only 5 spots still remain.
He's right on his bumper right here. Look at, 12 looks a little free off the wall. Harvick to the high side here, going to get on that quarter panel. Can't quite get there.
Steve, you said it. The 12 car wasn't on the bottom. Gave Harvick a little bit of air, so he was running the bottom. Then Blaney fixed it, went to the bottom. So then Harvick went to the middle, ran Blaney down. Now Blaney's gone to the middle, trying to take that air away from Harvick. Just a response to what Kevin Harvick was doing from behind is what you're seeing from Blaney right now.
It's like a 200-mile-an-hour game, as Simon says. You just have to do it at the right time, right? I mean, Blaney's trying to drive out the windshield and out the mirror at the same time.
Kevin Harvick, hard-headed a lot of times, as now he's still fighting for that second spot. Actually, in high school, he drove for his family's team. They won 4 races, and then he chose to go to a senior school event and miss the next race. Well, his dad didn't appreciate that very much, because while he was on that senior event, his dad sold his race car. So Kevin Harvick knows that racing is very important to him, and he also knows how important it is to get those wins And Harvick's been very successful this year, 7 wins already this season, but he really wants this spot as he continues to dog that 12 of Ryan Blaney.
He knows if he can get a little bit closer and disrupt the air on that 12 car. Right there he is. He's right on the quarter panel. Look, just like I said, the 12 car really loose off turn 2. The 4 car could get right up to that quarter panel on the left side. Look at him driving the gas, try to pick the gas up before Blaney. Close that gap. He's right there. Blaney's gonna have a hard time holding him off here. I think he's gonna settle in behind the 4, off into 1, yep. Makes a choice to give up that position and maybe fight him later on.
Now Harvick will set his sights on Logano. So Harvick has cleared the 12 of Blaney, holds on to second. He's about 1.6 seconds behind Joey Logano. Parker.
Hey guys, I'm actually down here in turn 1 as we saw that pass of Kevin Harvick on Ryan Blaney because I want to show you the speed of these race cars. They're doing over 200 miles an hour into turn 1, and it's absolutely insane. The speed, you can see it down here. You can feel it, and it's the wind, especially when a pack comes at you. Look at 78, Chase Elliott, all these cars rushing by. It's an awesome sight down here in turn 1.
Over 200 miles an hour, right up against the wall as they enter turn 1.
Oh, these two guys right here, the last few laps, has been really interesting. The 14 drove underneath the 78, cleared him, then the 78 cleared him down the back straightaway. They've been going at it, Dave.
And Jeff, there's been a little bit of concern from our vantage point watching the 78 here. There has been on their radio as well. During that caution, they took some time to discuss.
I don't know what to do. Maybe I just need to tighten this thing up and run the wall. I don't know. Yeah, 10-4, that's what I'm not sure on. I mean, we're not making any ground doing what we're doing.
I talked to Cole Pern this morning. There was no concern about anything that would go wrong here today, so this was a bit of a surprise to them on the last stop. They went kind of back halfway on the air pressure adjustments they had made, and at least he's past Boyer. See how far the 78 can go now.
But you heard that conversation, Dave, about what decision, where do I need to be better? You heard Martin Truex say, I don't really know. Like, maybe we just need to tighten it up, and I'll just go run the top, meaning that they don't want to have to run in one place. See Chase Elliott making this move, but maybe in the situation they're in, the best thing to do is just be to tighten the car up, make it comfortable, and run that top lane.
Chase Elliott with the slide job there goes right up the racetrack and in front of the 78. 78 doesn't have enough momentum to do the crossover and come back. So Chase Elliott now has that spot. That was the 10th position. Truex Jr. has fallen out of it. Now to the bottom of the racetrack. Martin Truex Jr. goes, and you see Clint Boyer and then 14 back behind them. Also searching for that elusive grip here at Kansas Speedway. Logano still out front, though, as he is a Stage 1 winner. You're watching the Monster Energy Cup Series, Hollywood Casino 400 from Kansas Speedway. And NASCAR fans, if you want more chances to win a fan-built Chevy, Ford, or Toyota truck, go to NASCAR.com/playoffs promo and enter the promo code RACE48 to get 10 extra chances to win the truck of your choice. But don't wait, the bonus offer ends today. That's promo code RACE48. Joey Logano, when we went away, had about a 1.6 second lead over Kevin Harvick, and now that lead 0.4 of a second. So as Steve Letarte always likes to do the sound effect of Pac-Man, that is what is happening right now with Kevin Harvick. He is closing the gap that has been put there by Joey Logano, and Harvick running the bottom of the racetrack and making up ground.
Yeah, he's been committed to the bottom pretty much the whole day. His teammate Clint Boyer, he also has been committed to the bottom.
It's the funniest thing about Harvick is he'll qualify in the middle. He will. He qualifies in the middle of the racetrack, but he runs the bottom exclusively during the race because he knows that's where you're going to win the race. You're going to win the race on the bottom of the racetrack late on these short runs. These guys that run the top, I was one of them. You'd have a great day all day long, but at the end of the race, you better be able to run that bottom. So he works down there on that bottom, make sure his car's handling there all day long. Kelly.
Yeah, crew chief Rodney Childers told me Kevin used to be one of the best at running up top, but now he just kind of prefers to stay away from it. They were really focused on keeping speed in this 4-car, running the middle. Kevin, by the way, knows that he has clinched a spot in the next round of the playoffs, but he's been asking where other people are running on the track and what kind of times they're putting out.
Our lap times would compared to the guys that are running high. So the top got going there for a little bit, and it's like the 18 and the 88, and then it just went back away. And our lap times are better than theirs up there. Yeah, there's really nobody good up there at the end of it.
They made an exception to the 9 car that said they were fast running up top, but Kevin Harvick has been putting down some of the fastest lap times throughout this race.
Yeah, Kelly, you heard his crew chief Ronnie saying that he was really good at running the top. When I was teammates with Kevin Harvick, there he goes to the top, going to try to run the top. Kevin made it a point to go learn how to run the top. He just decided in one offseason, you know what, I got to be better at this. And immediately at the first downforce track, he was up there running the top, and he learned how to do it. So if Kevin decides he wants to run the top, he'll be able to go run it. If he wants to run the bottom, he'll be able to run the bottom. He can run anywhere he wants to run. It's just he prefers that bottom because of what you said, Junior. You get that late race restart, you need to be able to lock those left side tires on that white line and roll the middle.
You know, we've talked a lot about these guys up here leading the race and the different drivers in the playoffs. One guy that's not in the playoffs, Paul Menard, the driver of the 21, first year with the Wood brothers. I think, you know, kind of a transition. Ryan Blaney leaves that car. Paul Menard comes over. There's been a few highlights over the course of the year, but I think they're looking for something to end the year on. And Marty looking pretty good today, running 7th, and I think running the 42 down a little better than the 42, just trying to find a little clean air to get by him.
Yeah, they were just talking about that on the radio a moment ago. They said the 42's coming back to you. Paul has had speed at these 1.5 miles this year and working that high line very well. The highest running of the non-playoffs cars, just a little bit too free, but he's using that high line to his advantage, trying to get another spot around Kyle Larson.
And here in the Midwest, those of you who are familiar with the name Menards, a home improvement company that was formed by Paul's dad, John Menard, as this race continues here for the 41 of Kurt Busch.
Well, it's been a struggle for Kurt Busch, all the way back in 16th position right now. He is not happy with his race car. A few laps ago, here he is. See him trying to get off the corner and just no rear grip whatsoever. And you don't have anything to lean on, Parker. It's hard to be aggressive with that throttle.
Exactly, Jeff, and he came on the radio and said, I about wrecked, screaming, and so his crew chief Billy Scott came back across the radio and said, all right, we'll put some wedge at the next stop, but it's just been a struggle on that 41 car. As you said, he just does not have the right rear grip, especially on throttle at the X of the corners right now, to be able to keep up the cars in front of him.
And that limits what you can do, Junior. If you do not have rear grip, the car is not stuck. You cannot go to that throttle aggressively. You have to be real easy with that throttle. Marty.
And Jeff, the game has changed for Brad Keselowski and his team. Talked to Paul Wolfe this morning. They felt like there was a scenario where they could point their way in if they got points in stage 1 as that battle for second place heats up and the 14 did not get points. That's the exact opposite of what actually happened. So, Steve, now Paul Wolf really has to call this game much differently for Brad Keselowski. They pretty much have to win if they want to make it to the next round. So how do you change your strategy from here out?
Well, I would definitely be even more aggressive, and what I mean by that is, well, with 44 to go in this stage, I'd come to pit road. I'd be the first car on pit road. Try to gain an advantage on the other cars. You see Kevin Harvick lose the position to Ryan Blaney right here. Blaney's car has really come on as of late. He's gaining 2 or 3/10 of a second per lap on Logano. I expect Kevin Harvick to be in the same situation. Remember, he's already guaranteed through, Junior, so the 4, I think he's only looking for those playoff points. You get those by winning stages and winning the race.
Yeah, the 12 car's flying. Found some great speed around the top of the racetrack and came from a long ways back to run down Harvick. And now look at him. He's going to try to get up there and get this stage point if he can, put himself in position. We got a round of pit stops to go through, but I thought really he was going to fade back into the backside of the top 5, but man, this car's come to life over the last few laps.
And Junior, they told Logano, hey, you're going to need to move up. Here comes your teammate.
Yes, Logano's moved up. Harvick's trying to get up there as well. I think Harvick and Logano both running that bottom have lost a lot of time to just about everyone in the top 5.
Now, Junior, as soon as Logano ran up to the top and took that air away from Blaney's car, Blaney had run a 30-80. That lap was a 31 flat. So it took 0.2 of a second of speed off of Blaney's car. That notice from TJ Majors, the spotter for the 22, saying you got to go to the top, that didn't pick up Logano. It just slowed Blaney down.
And look right here with the 2 of Brad Keselowski. Eric Jones, wanting that lower line, gets right up to the spoiler of the 2, gets him loose, and Eric Jones goes to take that spot. And once again, we're seeing the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. and Cole Pern, his crew chief, doing a little strategy. They're the first on pit road, Dave.
Rick, remember last time they did that, they gained spots. It was a net gain for them because they were on fresher tires earlier, running fast laps, while others were on older tires. They're going the right direction. Cole told Martin, we're working on it. We're going to have to work hard on it. They went back a little bit on an air pressure adjustment last time, maybe a little bit more this time, Parker.
Eric Almirola pits out of the top 5 here. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for him. He was too loose to start the run, then he started to lose the center turn inside that car, so they're going to make a couple adjustments here, especially with air pressure, and you see that wrench going in the right rear right there to make that adjustment. Marty?
Good first half of stage 2 for Alex Bowman. They were running up in the 6th position for much of that run. You see that damage on the right rear that they did pull out and fix earlier. Car was a little bit too tight center off, Parker.
You see Clint Porter in there. It's Ford Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. Also struggling being too tight and not able to get to the top line. His team's been pleading with him to get up there.
Blaney has stayed out, but Logano has come to pit road now, so he relinquishes the lead. Dave.
That's the 3 car of Austin Dillon go by, and now a 4-tire stop for Joey Logano. The car was really pretty good balance-wise that time, so just a maintaining of that spot, obviously taking the air away from the cars approaching him was the key. 4 tires and fuel, Kelly.
The 4 car of Kevin Harvick pulling out of his pits. He was quiet on the radio and seemingly happy with the 4 car, so it was 4 Goodyears and Sunoco fuel for Harvick, Marty.
Kyle Busch on pit road said the car's not too bad. It slides on the entry of 3. He said mostly he feels like that's because of the wind, a little bit too free otherwise, Dave.
Ryan Blaney's car right below there, getting freer on exit over the course of the run. So they'll make an air pressure adjustment for that to try to help Ryan, who is gaining on the leader before this round of pit stops.
10 of Almirola and the 41 of Kurt Busch both getting hit with pit road penalty. The uncontrolled tire penalty for both of those teams. And look at how they'll blend out. You see the damage to the 21 of Paul Menard after having such a good run.
Yeah, he had some contact with, I believe, the 6 car on pit road, trying to get out of his stall. And the 6 of Bain was coming in.
And the 2 blending out, the 22 of Logano blending out. Here's the damage.
Man, that did some big time damage to the 21 car. We're having such a great run today. That's going to bring him probably back to pit road.
And there's the uncontrolled tire, the 10. It's got to be within an arm's distance of the crew member.
Yeah, which really ends up being a timing thing, and that's exactly what we see most times, the right side's where the penalty happens, Marty.
Hey, Steve, you called it. We said Paul Wolf would need to do something a little bit different. Well, here is something different, running longer than everybody else. They've been known to do this. So what they're trying to do here, hoping they can catch a caution in this window. It's a limited window, Steve, but Paul Wolf doing everything he can to get this win and points.
Yeah, and with 35 to go in the stage, Paul Wolf should be able to run about 20 more laps, so Brad Keselowski will stay on the racetrack. Burton, I like this, right? While he's losing time, as you see Kevin Harvick easily going to go by on those new tires, it's a win. He has to win the race. He just knows he can't continue to follow guys down pit road.
That was just to unlap himself, by the way. Harvick's not taking that pass for the lead. It's to get on the same lap that as Keselowski's running.
And the huge penalty, Kurt Busch, uncontrolled tire. He is all the way down in 29th.
You're watching the Monster Energy Cup Series from Kansas Speedway. This telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. And a star-studded doubleheader this week on Wednesday night hockey. First, John Tavares and the Maple Leafs visit the Jets. Then Nikita Kucherov and the Lightning face the Avalanche. That's NHL on NBCSN Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Burton, didn't I say that you had to mention all of the NHL names?
There's times I don't listen for a reason. So we see the 41 of Kurt Busch. We talked about the penalty that he had, an uncontrolled tire. Here he is, Steve, on pit road in his box.
Yeah, so you see the right side tires coming off, and basically right here, the tire change is going to take one. It looks much like the penalty to the 10 as well. Same team, same type of penalty. The tire carrier was making the adjustment. Everybody leaves. That tire is definitely more than an arm's length away. That's uncontrolled.
And this is something that NASCAR, I mean, the teams should know by now, right, Steve? I mean, they're not going to be lenient on this call.
Yeah, every time I bring it up in any meetings with teams or with NASCAR, the garage area seems very crystal clear on what the rule is. You know, I know there's some fans that are not, they don't think it's a very popular rule, but it's there for a reason. You know, these tires are 75 pounds. They have to be taken care of. We used to see tires bouncing up and down pit road. this is something that the teams wanted and the teams have gotten.
26 laps to go in stage 2. Keselowski still out front. Let's get a few updates. We start with Parker.
Right, guys, you see Clint Boyer right now running in the 15th position. His spotter, Brett Griffin, has been telling him where Keselowski is on the racetrack, trying to obviously unlap himself right now, being a lap down through these green flag cycles. But, you know, his crew chief, Mike Grugevich, said something interesting to me today. He said, you know, I think the 41 is not safe. And now when you look at that playoff leaderboard right now, the 41 is out for the troubles they had on pit road. So he kind of called that a little bit and said, we're going to focus on our day because I don't think anyone up there is safe, Dave.
Parker, looking at the playoff points on the left-hand side, you see Martin Truex Jr. is below the line. And remember what he told you earlier today. It's been a crazy playoffs. We've had strong runs, but nothing to show for it. Today, it'll have to be the opposite. It's been not such a strong run so far. They'll need to bring it back at the end.
And Dave, we have Kurt Busch, who we just noted had that tire violation on pit road, now finds himself 2 laps down through these green flag cycles. Definitely not hoping for a caution at this time. But, you know, coming into these playoffs, a lot of people had said this team was under the radar. And I asked his crew chief, Billy Scott, about that, and he said, we like that. The thing is, statistically, this car was probably 4th or 5th fastest over the whole season in speed. And they said, you know, if we do that and we keep that speed up and stay on the radar, we think we're a championship threat, Dave.
Ryan Blaney just hovering above the cut line there in the 12 right now and running strong today in 3rd place as he goes. Talked to his crew chief Jeremy Bones this morning and we had a good chuckle when I asked about Ryan's goodness here at the Kansas Speedway. Jeremy said he's good at fast tracks. And I said, oh, aren't all tracks fast for NASCAR? He said, well, yeah, but ones that race like this, he's particularly good. 2's on pit road, Marty.
Yep, you see the leader, Brad Keselowski, coming down pit road. He has the very first pit stall off of turn 4, so the car was extremely free. Let's see if Paul Wolf goes with 2 or 4 tires. It's going to be a 4-tire change here. They're going to make that wedge adjustment, trying to tighten it up really loose, especially center off for Brad Keselowski. They kept him out there doing all they could, trying to pull the strategy. Didn't get the caution they needed. We'll see where he cycles out.
14 seconds to change 4 tires and add 18 gallons of fuel to that car, and he'll make his way back off of pit road. That puts Kevin Harvick out front for the race lead. Ryan Blaney running 1.5 seconds behind him.
So I believe the 2 will easily stay on the lead lap relative to the 4. As the 4 comes down into turn 1, the 2's exiting 2 on the apron, and he'll have fresher tires, 16 or 17 laps fresher than the field. Now he's going to have to try to use those fresh tires to gain some positions back.
Harvick, Blaney, Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, the top 5, and it's Kyle Larson, Matt DiBenedetto running up there as he still needs to make a pit stop. Jimmy Johnson, Alex Bowman, and Eric Jones all in the top 10. Kevin Harvick has been able to win at Kansas before, looking to win stage 2 as we go NASCAR nonstop from Kansas Speedway. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of NASCAR. Chevrolet, the most awarded car company 4 years in a row. PNC, make today the day. And by Outback Steakhouse, Aussie rules. And the 14 of Clint Boyer, little communications as to where they should run on the track.
Keep doing it. We got to get to 78. That's going to be for a bonus point. It'll be a big deal for us to get it, not him.
Important for the points. You see the 78 just in front of that 14. So trying to reel in Martin Truex Jr. And that's tough to do on a 1.5 mile track. But we're seeing Martin Truex Jr. run in a really an unfamiliar position, back in 10th. Normally he's way up front, running where Kevin Harvick or maybe even Kyle Busch, both of them running up into the top 5. Kelly.
And Kevin Harvick took over that lead after the last round of green flag pit stops. Now he's in position to pick up his 16th stage win of the season. He's collected some of those here in the postseason. About the only thing they haven't been able to do in the playoffs is get an actual race win. They're trying to change that today. Kevin Harvick already a 3-time winner here at Kansas, looking for number 4 today, Dave.
Ryan Blaney trying to come back from earlier this year, disappointment at Kansas where he could have won the race. He knew it. He said, I wrecked us late in the race. He's led 9 laps here today, and he just radioed in. It's gone pretty loose here at this point in the run. 22 of Joey Logano right behind him. There he is. He's led 100 laps today. One thing that he's got that is a problem for him is when he works down here on the bottom, that turn that works for him there makes him too free at the top if he has to use that later, Kelly.
Chase Elliott in the 9 car running 4th right now. His crew chief, Alan Gustafson, told me that their cars for these intermediate 1.5 mile tracks have been their worst discipline over the season, so they've worked very hard to improve them. They felt like they showed speed at a similar track in Vegas a few weeks ago. They really want to show performance here today because they feel like this is the closest track compared to the championship track in Miami. Marty?
Kelly, same point made by Adam Stevens to me about Kyle Busch. They're trying a few new little setup things here today. He said this is the one track on the schedule where you can learn from Miami. We want to learn a few things today. Kyle Busch, another little contact with the wall. They said there's no tire rub, so all good there. Kyle Larson is up to 6 within striking range of the win here at Kansas. They need a little bit more. He said the car's been free all day long, and that's hurting me from running my high line. He told me, I feel like there's more pressure when you're on the cut line. When you're in a must-win scenario, you can go all out. Eric Jones is up in the 7th position, having a very nice run. The highest non-playoff driver right now. The car's been a little bit too free for Eric Jones. It's been fun to ride on board, trying to move up through the field. Kelly?
And you can see the 48 there of Jimmy Johnson trying to get around the 20 of Eric Jones. I think running in the top 10 has been pretty good for this team because when I talked to crew chief Chad Knaus before the race, he said he was full of optimism until they got here into practice, and he just felt like they didn't have near the speed they expected to. His teammate Chase Elliott came here for a test a few weeks ago. They've been trying some things that they learned at that test here. They didn't feel like they were going to pay off, but running in the top 10, it looks like they are.
His teammate Alex Bowman felt very good, Kelly, coming to this racetrack because he said, I've had 2 ARCA wins here. It's probably one of my best racetracks right now, having a very solid run for the 88, but it's not going to be enough where they are. They're right now in 9th, but he needs the win if he wants to advance, Dave.
Marty, before we started this through the field, Rick was talking about how they didn't expect to see the 78 back here. Well, believe me, they do not either, and they are trying very hard to work on it. But as Martin radioed them just 5 laps ago, and when he ran the 3rd fastest lap of anyone on the track, yeah, I hit it right once every 10 laps, Rick. We know 10% of the time doesn't work in NASCAR.
Not at all. And again, just right outside the top 10, behind Martin Truex Jr., Clint Boyer, Keselowski running back in 14th. Almirola, who's already on to the next round, is running 17th, and he's the last car on the lead lap. There are only 17 cars on the lead lap. That's the kind of pace that Harvick is running.
Showed Menard having trouble on pit road on that last pit cycle, and he's continued to have issues on the racetrack. He's got a right front tire flat here, as that damage on the right front has caused him to come to pit road twice, doing terrible damage to the car. He's down 4 laps now. Was in the top 5 earlier. We've talked about these guys trying to get themselves a great finish before the end of the season. Not going to happen today, unfortunately.
And it was just that little encounter on pit road that has completely changed Paul Menard's day. Now 5 laps to go in stage 2 for Kevin Harvick. Harvick, who was able to win the race earlier this year from Kansas, didn't win any of the stages. Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson won stage 1 and stage 2 earlier this year at this racetrack. Kevin Harvick looking to get the stage 2 win if he can stay out front.
Ryan Blaney in second place, in position to earn some more stage points. Clint Boyer in 11th, not in position to gain any extra stage points here to close in on the finish of this stage 2.
Well, the second stage has not been worse to any driver more than the 41 of Kurt Busch. He had that uncontrolled tire, caused an extra trip down pit road. You see Brad Keselowski going past him right here. Well, that's not for position because Brad Keselowski's on the lead lap. The 41 of Kurt Busch is a lap down back in 20th, and currently Parker only a point above. He came into this race 30 points above the cut line.
All right, Steve, it's been kind of disaster for Kurt Busch, but hey, Jeff, I want you to listen to this because I think you're kind of a mind reader. Listen to what the 14 team was just saying to Clint Boyer.
Look at us just talking about trying to just work on it where you just run the bottom. Just trying to get you comfortable down there.
So there you go. You just said, I believe it was in the commercial break, that the 14 just needs to focus on the bottom. Well, his team agrees. They're going to make that car do everything they can to make it work good on the bottom. I guess they're listening to you or something.
Well, up here watching, Parker, every time Clint would try to move around and try to find something else, it would actually go slower. So, you know, at some point, you just got to say, okay, we've got what we got. Let's figure out how to make it work the best. And if you just run the bottom, then the team will have some information to work on. So that's what they're discussing, and maybe that's the direction they need to go in. But you can see Clint Boyer with 2 laps to go in the stage. He's still working, still looking around, trying to find what he needs.
Under 2 laps to go, pit road is closed. And Kevin Harvick continuing with his domination now of stage 2. He is 0.7 of a second in front of Ryan Blaney, but in a little bit of traffic here as he's on the final lap of stage 2.
Something to keep an eye on. If Eric Almirola ever gets his track position back from that penalty, he has stayed in front of Kevin Harvick this entire run after serving that penalty, so he has good speed.
This is to put McMurray a lap down. If he does that, then McMurray would get the free pass at the end of this stage. If he gets by him, he's not going to. Kevin Harvick will win stage 2. Chris Buescher is the first car shown a lap down or scored a lap down in 18th. As you see, the top 5. And there are now the top 10 all receiving stage points from the end of stage 2. Kevin Harvick, a former champion, looking for championship number 2. He wins stage 2 here at Kansas.
Down a dream that never would come to me. Working on a mystery, going wherever it leads. Running down a dream.
Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Kansas. Getting ready for the pit stops at the end of stage 2. Harvick will be bringing the field onto pit road now. Right behind him, Blaney, Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch. And it's congested as they come onto pit road, Kelly.
And with that stage win for Kevin Harvick, he gets another playoff bonus point that he'll take with him into the next round. When he was asked how his balance is, he simply said, balance is fine. His crew chief Rodney Childers telling the pit crew, take a deep breath, let's rock and roll just like last time. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for that 4 team, Dave.
Another good bag of points there for Ryan Blaney in the 12. Crew chief Jeremy Bowen's encouraging the crew. We're right on the cut line. Let's be on our game. That car built free. They'll make an air pressure and wedge adjustment for that. Joey Logano's car this time, not bad, but they know if they adjust for the top line, which they're going to need, they could hurt the bottom. Slow pit stop for Logano.
And look at that. 4 wide as they come off of pit road. Harvick holds serve, but Chase Elliott with a good stop, as well as Kyle Larson grabbing some spots. Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex Jr. also gaining position on pit road. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Toyota, let's go places. Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of NASCAR. And by Credit One Bank, the credit card perfect for everyday purchases. And time now for today's Social Spotlight presented by Toyota. We go to Steve Letarte.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. So earlier in the week, NBC Handles sent out this question. Toyota Racing wants to know, what is your favorite NASCAR-themed Halloween costume? Send us your answers. And they sent us some good ones here. So Jared, he said he was always Dale Earnhardt for Halloween. He sent us a picture. Even while he's playing video games, looks good right there, the old school steering wheel. I appreciate that for the video game. Justin here, he says 7 years. How about this? A homemade costume of Carl Edwards. You got to always love the heart. But I think the final one's probably my favorite. Mary said, a crew chief. Looks to me like Mike Wheeler, crew chief for Denny Hamlin there in the FedEx outfit.
All right, we're getting ready to come to the green flag here. A lot of things happened during that last caution. We saw Joey Logano lost several spots, came out in 9th place. Well, here it is, a right front. Watch the hose. It's hooked to the air gun. It gets caught right there on the splitter. Tire changer's got to go back, get it unhung. That's why the 22 had a slow pit stop. And then Ryan Blaney. We've seen this before on short tracks. Well, here we are. He wants to be in the outside lane, stops, lets Kyle Larson go by to give him the outside lane. He thinks that's going to be a better place to restart.
And 2x2 once again. They come to the Geico restart zone. Harvick and Elliott, 2 drivers locked into the round of 8, leading this field.
Inside line checked up pretty big right there. Luckily, everybody got through without any issues, but all of them, look at them all bottled up on the bottom, getting down in the corner. Huge checkup in the middle of 1 and 2.
2 and 3 wide back here for position.
And check out this red and black car at the back. That's the 41 car, Kurt Busch. Right now, he is the first car a lap down. That could be huge, whether he can get back in the lead lap, and his competition knows that. Right now, if you look at the points, it shows him out. But if he can get back in the lead lap and start passing people, that will move him up the chain and perhaps move Blaney or Truex or even Boyer out.
Look at how tight it is from 6th down to 9th. So 4 people fighting for 3 spots. Boyer 8 points above the line. Martin Truex Jr. 5 points above the line. Ryan Blaney only 3 ahead right now of Kurt Busch. Marty.
And Rick, look who's in the 4th position, the must-win man, which there are many here today, but Kyle Larson has worked his way from the back up to 4th. They had a little vibration. There he is right in front of Kyle Busch in that purple 42 car. They had a vibration at the end of the run. The stage came at a very good time for that 42 car, but he said, handling-wise, car's been pretty perfect.
And if Kyle Larson wins, that would bump Ryan Blaney out of the top 8.
And think about that. Think how well Ryan Blaney has run today. He's running 2nd place right now. He's gotten points in every stage, done a really good job. But, you know, again, don't forget about Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch starts getting positions, that would move him out. So this race, there's a lot to happen in these next several laps. And you just do not know how this is going to end with who can transfer into the next round and who can't.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned the 41 of Kurt Busch and gaining positions. Currently, he's the first car 1 lap down in the 22nd position, but he is in that free pass position. So if the caution were to come out right now, that would have huge playoff implications, not just for the 41 who would get on the lead lap, but Ryan Blaney currently running 2nd. He cannot afford to lose points to the 41.
Last time by, Ryan Blaney was the fastest race car on the racetrack. That time by just a little slower than Harvick. Talking about that checkup on the inside line on that last restart. We're going to take a look at that replay. The 42, the 48 right here. They get down in the corner, and the 9 really backs them up, and the 42 has to lift. That starts that accordion all the way back. All those guys real lucky. Somebody didn't get run over there.
And that's why Ryan Blaney wanted that outside lane, because typically that's exactly what happens, is the bottom is the one that'll get bottled up and the top rolls. So Blaney, with that smart move on pit road, rather than being in the bottom and getting checked up, he was on the top and able to take advantage of it.
They're riding along with Kyle Larson. He's struggling a little bit right here with Kyle Busch right on his bumper. Busch is going to go to the bottom. Larson just about 2 tenths off, 2 or 3 tenths off the leader. Just doesn't have the speed in the car. It's a backup car. They talked about how it's been on the hauler all year long. It doesn't have any of the upgrades that they've been finding throughout the season. And you're seeing the difference between a primary and a backup car right now. This is where it shows up on the racetrack, middle of the race, where you need that 2 tenths.
Well, they say find speed, find speed, find speed. How do you find speed? Well, throughout the year, you find speed by making more horsepower and making more downforce. This car is not updated. I'm sure it has less downforce than their primary perhaps would have had.
Staying in front of the 18, though, is Kyle Larson. Must-win situation for Kyle Larson, running 4th right now. He's going to have to catch up to Harvick, Blaney, Chase Elliott if he wants to contend for the win here today. And again, there's going to be another pit stop. They can't go all the way to the end of this race without getting fuel, tires again. So he has that other opportunity. Parker.
Well, guys, I'm actually now down at the exit of turn 4, kind of the middle, maybe turn 3, 4, because this is such a cool view of the multiple grooves around Kansas Speedway, because when you look behind me here, you'll see the cars coming, and then suddenly they disappear behind the wall. And actually, if we run up down there, we're going to run down there. Hold on, watch this. We get crazy here. We're going to get right up next to the wall, and when we get all the way down here, I can see into the cars as they go by. It's absolutely an awesome view here, and it gives you such a great perspective of how close they get to the wall and how much they're on edge. You see the 42 colors and right there go by. That's awesome.
And Parker, it's good to know that that lower body injury that you had from a week ago racing at Talladega has gotten better as you were nimble going down that hill.
Appreciate it, yes. I just used gravity there to get down the hill well.
What a great view. Again, the cars get upwards of 200 miles an hour as they go into turn 1. About 195 as they enter turn 3, but they are carrying a lot of speed right up against the wall that Parker just showed us.
And we've been following the Clint Boyer story all day long. It's been up and down all day long. You can see Clint Boyer, he has lost 3 spots in the last couple laps. You can see he's trying to find something. Jumps up to the middle of the racetrack. Eric Jones jumps underneath him, all but touch each other. Clint Boyer's struggling right now. He's gone all the way back to 14th place, Parker.
Right, and he's actually been complaining about the left front right as the restart happened. If you look there, you see that little bit of damage on the left front as he gets past there by Kurt Busch. He's been complaining about that. I'm not exactly sure where it got hit on the restart, but he's been complaining of that damage and that it's just not able to turn right now with that damage on the left front.
And because of the points gained in stage 2, 2 more drivers have clinched, the 18 of Kyle Busch and the 22 of Joey Logano. On to the round of 8. It's Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Kansas. Telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Well, the Monster Energy Cup Series playoffs, they are coming to Martinsville Speedway next to start that round of 8. Everyone will be fighting to win the coveted grandfather clock for winning at the paperclip. Well, the playoff pressure definitely is on. You don't want to miss the action. You can visit NASCAR.com/tickets to join us at Martinsville next week.
We saw left front damage on that 14 car, Clint Boyer. We got a replay of the restart. That's how that happened. All those guys are getting bottled up on that inside line. Some of them are trying to get out of it, get up in that top groove. And Jimmy Johnson moves up with the 14 on his right rear quarter panel and gives him some left front damage, knocks the leather off the tires. Bends the left front fender on Clint Boyer's car right at the 12 o'clock mark. Those two have kind of had some history today already, battling for position in at the end of the stage. Clint's very lucky that it has not affected that tire.
Yes.
And brought him to pit road.
Yeah, you see there's no yellow anymore on that left front tire. The Goodyear is completely worn off.
And now just 81 laps to go, and Clint Boyer is right on the line. He is currently 8th in the playoff standings, and only 8 advance after today's race, so it's getting very close. As laps are winding down, we'll get a few updates. We start with Kelly.
And we start at the front of the pack with Kevin Harvick, part of the so-called Big Three. And when I asked Rodney Childers how he felt they stacked up lately against the 18 of Kyle Busch and 78 of Martin Truex Jr., he said, I feel really good about the position we're in. Sure, we haven't won for several weeks, but we've been leading a lot of laps, winning stages. 6 straight years Kevin Harvick has won in the postseason. If he can do it today, that'll make for 7, Dave.
Ryan Blaney keeping his head in the game. When he was unable to win that first stage earlier today, he shouted on the radio. They got him back into it, reminded him a long way to go. The 12 car is still fast, and he can still make it to the round of 8, Kelly.
2 wins already for Chase Elliott in this 9 team, and crew chief Alan Gustafson said that has got to give him a lot of confidence as a driver. And he said, I feel like we have good enough race cars right now where we can continue to put ourselves in contention to win. You see him trying to make the move there for second, Rick.
Trying to take that second spot away. Chase Elliott at the bottom of the racetrack is going to make the pass, but here comes the 12 with the momentum. Will he cross him over and try to take the spot back, or stay right on his back bumper?
I think Blaney showed a lot of patience right there. I think Blaney knows that Chase Elliott's a little bit quicker at this time in the race and just decided not to push the issue.
Yeah, Chase has been making some great time. Blaney has too. Both these guys were catching the 4 car of Kevin Harvick. Looks like Elliott obviously quicker. Now with clean track in front of him, with Blaney out of the way, you see Larson back there closing in on this with clean track. And this 9 car of Chase Elliott run down Harvick. Chase really hasn't been toward the front of the pack all day long. He's been hovering around 5th place. But starting to really show some speed here on this long run.
Yeah, right behind Ryan Blaney, the 42 of Kyle Larson in that must-win situation. You see minus 27, even running where he's running. There's no path for this 42 to get in on points. He has to go to victory lane to advance.
Yeah, behind Kyle Larson, the 18 car. Guess who's been the fastest car the last 3 laps? This guy right here running the very top of the racetrack. He has been the fastest car. So you talked about Elliott running Harvick down. Well, Kyle Busch, he's running everybody down right now.
We knew Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick would be fast. Well, Harvick is out front leading the field at Kansas. And that is the 1.5 mile Kansas Speedway here in the Heartland. Now just 71 laps to go in this elimination race. And during commercial break, should have seen the run. Oh, we're going to show you the run that Kyle Larson had on the 12. Look at the slide job move he tries here.
He dives down into turn 3, and he's hoping to be able to clear this 12, but he knows that he's not got enough of a position on him and doesn't commit all the way. But he's trying. He saw that he had a run down the back straightaway of the 12. I got hung up with that lap car, and he's like, here's my shot. Because he knows to be able to get clear of him, getting clean air would have been real important. You see now, bottom of the screen, he's getting some competition in a battle here with Kyle Busch, who Jeff Burton just mentioned how quick Kyle is. Kyle's trying to work his way into this battle. Marty.
Hey, Junior, I wonder if that was 3 to go, if Kyle Larson lifts there or stays in the gas and tries to pull off that move on Blaney. These two have been fun to watch. They've been dueling back and forth. Kyle Busch made up all of his lap time when Jeff Burton was talking about how quick he was on the top of the racetrack. So Kyle Larson has taken that away, but these two cars consistently in the top 5 of lap times, and fun to watch them duking it out on the racetrack.
And since that move that Kyle Larson made, he's not really been able to close back in on the 12, and he's been kind of trying to just basically hold this position on the 18 car, but Kyle Busch has a little more speed. Kyle's going to try to run a little bit lower. See him try to run just a little lower to keep that left front headlight in the clean air and keep that car turning, keep some air and pressure on that left front headlight and that tire, keep the front working through the corner.
Well, and these top 5 are really stacked together. Kevin Harvick leads 0.7 of a second back to Chase Elliott. Then a small gap, then Blaney, Larson, Kyle Busch. So everyone in the top 5 really in the same corner together.
On the left of your screen, you see the 22 of the yellow box around the 22. He will advance into the round of 8. Now it's 4 drivers, in essence, fighting for 3 positions. The 78, 14, and 12 above the cut line, looking to not be eliminated today. The 41, 1 point out. And remember, there'll be a tiebreaker if the 2 fighting for that 8th position are tied in points. The tiebreaker goes to the best finish in this round.
I mean, would they ever tie, Rick? We've never seen that. We only had, what, 3 of them tie at the last elimination race?
You have 3 people tied in the last elimination race.
With 66 laps to go, I mean, remember, every point's a position. I mean, a bad pit stop, a good pit stop, a great restart, a bad restart, all those things are going to come into play of who is going to make the next round. And yeah, look how tight it is. And Blaney's run so well, only 1 point to the good. I just keep going back to that 41 car, Steve. You and I both have talked about it. If he can get himself back in a lead lap, he has a ton of positions he can go pick up.
Yeah, he's currently 21st. He has a car that can run 15th or 16th, no problem.
Look at this. Kyle Busch drives it down in there. He's going to have to come up the racetrack. Is he going to, oh, look at here. He almost tried to commit. He's way out in front of the 42 and could have probably drove up in front of him and forced the 42 to lift.
I wouldn't mess with a 42 today.
Yeah.
Or cross him back over.
He's not in the position to be giving up points.
A must-win situation for Kyle Larson. Really, now Brad Keselowski has fallen into that situation as well as Alex Bowman. Those 3, 10th, 11th, and 12th in points, all having to find victory lane if they want to advance into the round of 8. And there's Brad Keselowski, currently running on the track in 8th. But again, you see the 18 points, and if you do the math, 1 point per position, not enough points to be gained for him unless everybody starts to fall back. And Ryan Blaney, one of the drivers in front of him, currently running in the 3rd position. Listen into his radio.
Oh, he into the wall a little bit.
We're only like a point or 2 to the good, so like everything counts. But yeah, I figured. So I was trying to keep protecting the top.
Look at him wiggle the wheel after he got into the wall. Maybe is that trying to clear the tires?
Well, no, he's trying to see if he has a flat. He's trying to wiggle that tire, see if he has a flat. Also, if it is rubbing it, it would move the fender away from the tire. He's still not sure of it. Going to test it out just a little bit, Junior. That's really the only thing you can do is maybe go a little easy into the next corner and get a feel for it and then go back and attack if everything's okay.
Ryan Blaney brushing the wall, running 3rd. Kyle Larson trying to reel him in as we go NASCAR nonstop. NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing. Kansas Speedway, it's the Hollywood Casino 400. And only 56 laps to go. Kevin Harvick out front. There's the gap back to second, and Chase Elliott. Kyle Busch has moved up to third and trying to close that gap. Kyle Larson was able to get in front of Ryan Blaney, and Ryan Blaney hit the wall once again. So a tough situation for Blaney, who was fighting to stay above the cut line, and now he is 3 points below that elimination line.
Well, Rick, we talked about gambling, trying to win a race, trying to make it to the playoffs. The 42 of Kyle Larson, the first one on pit road, Marty.
How about the call by Chad Johnson to come to pit road first? He didn't say a word on the radio until Kyle Larson was entering turn 3, and then the quick reaction by the driver. He said the car very good, just a little bit too free, a very small air pressure adjustment, a little bit longer on the left front there. We'll see if that costs him time on the track.
Now it's a chess match, move, counter move. What crew chief is going to make a counter move? What playoff contender will come down and try to counter what the 42's done? It looks like the 78 will come, but he was running behind the 42. I'm waiting for Harvick, Elliott, Kyle Busch, one of the leaders, to decide if they're going to pit.
You mentioned the 78 on pit road now, Dave.
Rick, they've improved the 78. Could have a little bit more adjustment here for him. The best thing he's done, though, is changed how he's racing the track, backing up his entry and putting down the gas sooner in the middle of the corner. Parker?
Dave, Clint Boyer's been asking his team to fix that left front damage if they could under these green flag stops. They're going around the right side there, make some adjustments as well. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires and maybe see if they can fix that left side damage, Kelly.
Leader Kevin Harvick also coming to pit road. He's been very quiet on the radio. He seems to have been pretty happy with the balance of the 4 car for much of this race. 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel.
Kyle Busch on pit road. You see that, Kelly, pitting from third. All these leaders on pit road already leaving his stall. The call was a, quote, level 2 monopoly, Dave. His car was a little too free.
Ryan Blaney getting just a little bit of a tug on the fender there. They pretty much figured that it was tight after he tapped the wall. They'll make an adjustment for that.
Great opportunity to grab positions or make up some spots on pit road. Alex Bowman now having service to the 88.
Here he is, Rick. It's been a nice, solid top 10 run, but again, they know they're in a must-win situation. He's had vibrations at the end of the last 3 consecutive runs, so a little concern there, but the car overall a little bit too tight, Parker.
Marty, Kurt Busch there in the 41 pit, still a lap down here before Goodyear tires, still struggling with the rear end of that race car, and now the front end of that race car trying to make it turn, still struggling to get their lap back, and we'll see if they can do it over these green flag cycles.
Big mistake on pit road. Kevin Harvick speeding on pit road. He'll have to come back onto pit road to serve that penalty.
Watch your speed on the way through.
That is huge. That opens the door for some of these guys that talked about that need a win. Here you see Kevin Harvick coming on pit road. Well, look behind him. Look at Chase Elliott. He eats him up on on entry to pit road.
Pit road speed 3, 2, 1 now.
But early it was entering zone 4 is where Harvick got caught speeding.
All the way down here.
And a speeding penalty after Harvick had been pretty dominant in stage 2 and then the start of stage 3. 76 laps led already, but speeding penalty is going to negate all of that ground that he was able to cover and get in front of these title contenders. Now you see the little battle here between Larson and Kyle Busch continuing.
It's a big battle. These guys have been going at it right and left for the last 2 or 3 laps. Larson got by Kyle Busch right after the cycle, but Kyle Busch seems to be the quicker of the 2 cars now. Just can't make the pass. Battling for second place.
Yeah, that's the difference, right? Second place now. Now that the 4 has had that penalty, Kyle Larson, he has to win, right? So currently it's for 4th and 5th because we've yet to have Keselowski or McMurray come to pit road, but we know those 2 have to pit. So we assume Chase Elliott will take the lead at that point. So Kyle Larson has to fight off the 18, hoping the 42 will finally come in, Marty.
And guess who the leader still is? Brad Keselowski. Paul Wolf throwing a Hail Mary here. Again, running long, hoping for a caution. They have about 20 laps here they can play with. If they get that caution, they're in the ball game. But otherwise, Brad Keselowski, Paul Wolf doing all they can. They know they're in a must-win scenario now. This is really Paul Wolf's only chess move that he can make, Steve.
Well, Marty, and the window of opportunity for the 2 is actually bigger than you think. He would love to get a caution as he's a leader, right? Has most of the guys a lap down. That would be great. But even if he comes to pit road, as you see Kyle Larson unlapping himself just after his pit stop, Rick, as long as he stays on the lead lap, which he should, he'll have the freshest tires. He could probably then choose to stay on the racetrack and still gain track position. So I like this call by Paul Wolfe. He has really no choice, but I like giving his driver at least a chance of advancing.
The two that just got by, Brad Keselowski, the race leader, now chasing after Chase Elliott, who is still in front of both Larson and Kyle Busch. We go NASCAR nonstop. Make sure to join us weekdays at 5 o'clock on NBCSN for NASCAR America. It's must-see TV because moments like what happened on Friday happen on a regular basis. Listen.
Hey, go ahead and do us a favor. Will you read the promo for
Yes, are
Sunday
you
Night
ready? I'm
Football?
going to give it a try. Sunday Night Football is coming to Kansas City, baby. Showtime. Patrick Mahomes and my Chiefs host Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals at Arrowhead. Coverage starts at 7 Eastern with Football Night in America. Kickoffs at 8:20, only on NBC, and you can bet your butt I'm going to be there.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's right. A Kansas City Chief fan, a Kansas native. Clint Boyer, always entertaining. And of course, NASCAR America, always entertaining as well. Steve?
Well, you saw during NASCAR Nonstop, the two of Brad Keselowski decided to come to pit road. I was a little surprised. I thought he would run 5 or 6 laps longer, trying to catch that lucky break, trying to catch a yellow. All I can assume is that Paul Wolfe felt they were giving up too much time. He did not want to pit and come back on the track a lap down. That could perhaps give up the chance to win a race. Still 40 to go. If you have yellows, anything could change. But currently, Brad Keselowski back on the track in the 12th position.
42 car of Kyle Larson, we're hearing, may have gotten in the fence just a little bit.
Copy that.
In front of the 18. Didn't really hit it there. Just had to check up a little bit because he's going to. If he didn't lift, then he gets a good run on the 18. A few laps later and definitely gets a little bit of contact there. Just close, not too bad. Good job. I mean, that's Kyle Larson. That's how Kyle Larson runs the top.
Kyle Larson continuing to
good.
hug that wall. Let's take a look at today's Ram trucks proven to last.
Well, adjustments. The crew chiefs, they're going to have to make a decision. Adjust with the track and for the short run at the end of the race. If the cautions come out, do you get your car better on the bottom or do you commit to the top?
Yeah, I think know who you're racing. That's huge. We're looking at these playoff points and who's going to make the next stage. You have to understand who you're racing. You have to change your strategy and your driving technique accordingly.
Yeah, in a must-win situation, got to make something happen. That's what Kyle Larson's doing, driving his car up into third place from the back in a backup. Seen Brad Keselowski's pit strategy, staying out on the racetrack longer than most everyone else. You got to do something to offset what you're doing to the rest of the field to give yourself a chance to win.
All those green flag pit stops have cycled through, and that puts Chase Elliott out in front of the field, has a 2.3-second lead over Kyle Busch. With just 37 laps to go, let's get some more updates. We start with Kelly.
And it was essentially the pit road speeding penalty on Kevin Harvick in the 4 car that handed the lead to Chase Elliott in this 19. When I talked to crew chief Alan Gustafson and asked him what kind of speed they had in the car, he said, we don't really know, but we think we'll be better the longer we run, and they have shown just that. These long green flag runs have been the forte of this team. Today he's got a 2.5-second lead over the 18, Marty.
And Kyle Busch has been a little bit quicker than Chase Elliott, but 2.5 seconds is a lot of time to make up. They have told Kyle, listen, we're locked in. You don't have to give anyone else an inch on the racetrack today if you don't, but certainly don't want to make any enemies as you head to the round of 8. Kyle Larson with a very quick race car from the back to the front today, but it looks like they will need a caution if they're going to pull off this win this afternoon. His car a little bit free. He said, yes, we did not make contact with the wall, but it was close, Dave.
As they run, Martin Truex Jr. is good for the next round, but it was close to being disastrous for him. A lap before he pitted on lap 213, he radioed the crew, I think I've got a right front tire coming apart. And indeed, there was damage to it when they took it off on the pit stop. Ryan Blaney is trying to get through the next round as well, and right now he is not in. They adjusted for a loose car that last time. Remember, he was into the wall. The tire carrier got a little tug on both the front and rear right fenders, Marty.
Dave, what a run for Eric Jones right now in the 6th position for this race team. He told me before the race, he said, we've got to get back to doing what we do, which is being consistent and not making mistakes. The helmet cam's giving us a great view. Jones right now in 6th, Dave.
They told Joey Logano the good news that Rick shared with the crowd, that he is through to the next round based on points. The pressure's all off. That is, of course, until the next round starts, Marty.
Alex Bowman came in a must-win scenario, Dave. He said, I felt like every race in 2016 for me was a must-win scenario. I had to prove myself. I made it to this level. I'm proud of what our team has accomplished, whether we advance or not, Parker.
And Marty, it's been just a top 10 day for Eric Almirola. You know, coming into the playoffs, his crew chief, Johnny Kosmeyer, told me they were just a top 10 team, but as they entered the playoffs, they become a top 5 team. They haven't quite showed that today, just struggling a little bit to turn that race car, Kelly.
It's been a couple of weeks since it was announced that Jimmy Johnson and crew chief Chad Knaus, it was announced that they would be going their separate ways. It's been an emotional couple of weeks, according to Jimmy Johnson, and Chad Knaus told me that they're going to try to keep that 48 team intact as much as possible. He said this group is working so well together. Even though we don't have all the results to show for it, they've been doing a great job as a team, Marty.
Kelly, you saw those fresher tires for Brad Keselowski come into play there as he passed Jimmy Johnson now into the top 10. You got to give a tip of the cap to Paul Wolfe. He swung for the fence a couple of times today on strategy. Speed-wise, just hasn't been there with a 2-car today. Running top 10 right now, but they're going to need some help, Kelly.
Austin Dillon and this 3-team running 12th right now. They're one of the teams that came here for a test a couple of weeks ago. Crew chief Justin Alexander told me they felt like they learned a lot of things that they could apply to this race. But when I talked to him this morning, he said it didn't feel like they had the speed they were looking for in this car. They made some changes overnight after qualifying 23rd, running 12th right now, Parker.
Clint Boyer, who's running 13th right now, has been sort of a fringe top 10 contender all day. We showed you that damage you got on the left front. The team did their best to kind of roll that fender out a little bit under the green flag. But you know how tense it is down here? For about the last 20 laps, his crew chief, Mike Bugarevich, has been standing, watching that car go by lap after lap. It's intense down here, Dave.
One of the hardest things to do is keep racing hard once you've been eliminated from the playoffs. The 11 car of Denny Hamlin's been doing this, but remember this restart? Hamlin does. That's when he got accordion and into the back of Jamie McMurray's car. The team had to repair the car on pit road. They did a great job with it. He's on the lead lap. The car is tight with that damage, but he's running well. Kelly?
Kevin Harvick and this 4 team have looked so strong throughout the playoffs. The only thing they haven't been able to do is close out with a race win. It's been for a myriad of reasons. A couple weeks ago, it was a broken valve stem. Last week, it was a shortage of fuel. And now this week, it was a pit road speeding penalty that has Kevin Harvick, after winning stage 2, back in 15th, Dave.
Ryan Newman, former Kansas Speedway race winner, is running back in the 16th position and on the lead lap. The problem for him today, just no speed. He radioed that into the crew. Hey, car handles fine. I just can't catch anybody.
Great job, you guys, getting through all the lead lap cars. Again, those are the top 16. Kurt Busch not on the lead lap and not in position to get the free pass. You're watching the Monster Energy Cup Series from Kansas Speedway. Telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Let's take a look at today's Toyota driver updates. Kyle Busch currently running in the 2nd position, the highest running Toyota. Then Martin Truex Jr. in 4th, Eric Jones in 5th. Clint Boyer, who's currently running in 13th, is 5 points above the cutoff line. Listen to the team communications.
In a good spot to be in. That 41 car only needs 2 positions to catch us the points. Yeah, we're in trouble here.
Yeah, he's not, it's 5 points to the good right now, but the problem he got behind him is Denny Hamlin. Look, he has a little issue there. But Denny Hamlin is coming.
Get her wound up.
Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are coming.
Yeah, there's
48's been in the fence.
Damage to the right side of the 48, and the 14 checked up a little bit there.
Some heavy damage right there. Pretty hard contact.
And that's a position for Boyer.
Yeah, it could be a position for Boyer, but it may be a position for everyone else also, so it may not matter.
Right.
We'll see what kind of damage, see how quickly they can get out. Maybe they could get in front of Kurt Busch, which would help.
Yeah, it's not a position for the 12 car, who is out of the, in 9th place right now in points. And this is what I was talking about. Hamlin's coming, catching Boyer, and behind him, his teammate Kevin Harvick is coming as well. Those 2 positions are something Boyer could lose here shortly.
There are 14 cars now on the lead lap, and I mentioned earlier, Kurt Busch is not on the lead lap and not in position to get the free pass. He's currently 18th, not the highest lap down scored car.
I think that may be Clint Boyer's biggest concern is if he gets lapped by Chase Elliott. You know, that would maybe prevent him from gaining any other spots. So Kurt Busch that you just mentioned, Rick, right? He's a lap down, but there's some other cars he's racing. But Chase Elliott is only about 3 seconds behind Clint Boyer. I think he'll get to him before the finish of this race.
You talked about Chase Elliott only being 3 seconds behind Boyer. Well, Kyle Busch has cut this lead. Kyle Busch was 3 seconds behind not long ago, and now he is 1.5 seconds back. Now, Kyle had a little, Chase had a little bit of traffic to go through, but Kyle had to go through that same traffic. But now he's caught Newman, and we know what that's going to mean. It's going to take a long time to get by Newman, but this lead's been cut. Kyle Busch has been faster, and he's there. Ryan Newman moving out of his way.
Marty.
And I think Kyle Busch is a little frustrated that everybody seems to be running the top. Hard to get around people, but the 31 letting him go certainly played into their favor. Behind him, Kyle Larson is saying there's debris on the backstretch. Of course, they need a caution because they need this win. A caution would reset things and give them a shot at that.
Every driver who needs a win is, I'm sure, going to see something on the racetrack that they want to have a caution come out for. Kyle Larson has been running right up against the fence when he's going through the turns, trying to get as much speed as he can, doing everything he can. He knows he has to win this race if he wants to advance into the round of 8 and have a shot at the championship.
They've done an incredible job. I mean, he's right there, just a couple seconds behind Kyle Busch and the leader, Chase Elliott. They've got a whole straightaway on 4th place, Martin Truex Jr.
You talked about the situation that Boyer was in with Chase Elliott coming at him, trying to put him a lap down. The best thing he could do is if Kyle Busch could catch Chase Elliott and those guys get racing, again, Kyle Busch cut another couple tenths out of that lead. There it is. You can see it. Close it up. Let's go to the 14 radio and listen in.
I'll be honest with you, I'm hoping for it to go green here to the end. Well, our restarts have gone. I don't want to rely on that.
Yeah, that's the spotter, the crew chief talking. Clint Boyer's not hearing any of that, but yeah, they're just talking. That's anxiety. That's what that is. They're talking to each other. They're nervous, man. I don't blame them. I'd be nervous too. They got 2 good cars behind them, trying to run them down. That would be 2 spots.
Hamlin and Harvick behind him. And then he also has to worry about Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott is just a couple seconds behind Harvick, Hamlin, and Boyer. And Chase Elliott, race leader, could put them a lap down.
Chase Elliott, I know he'd like to lap these guys, but his mirror is growing with Kyle Busch. The lead now under 1 second. Lap after lap, Kyle Busch gaining a tenth and a half. And you see right there the line difference. Chase Elliott a groove or so off the wall. The 18 of Kyle Busch right against the wall.
The gap now 0.8 of a second between Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch. That's for the race lead. Potentially the win as they go to 12 laps to go from Kansas. Points on the left side of your screen. The top 8 will advance. This is elimination race.
It's going to come all down to traffic right here, Junior. I think it's all if Chase Elliott hits traffic at the right time. I think Kyle's a little better. I'm not sure with 12 to go he can run him down unassisted, but everyone is running the top, even the lap cars. You see right in front of Chase Elliott, the 13 of Ty Dillon occupying the top lane.
Yeah, if Chase catches those cars on corner exit, that's where it could cost him a lot of time. If I'm Chase Elliott's spotter, I'm watching that 18, and I'm allowed Chase to run his line up to a point. If that 18 gets too close, I'm going to give him that information of where that 18's at. Hey, he's right on the wall. Put your car where his is to dirty up that air for that 18. Force that 18 to try another line. Try some other way around.
And now Ty Dillon stays right in the line that Kyle Busch was going to try to run, and that slows down the 18 just a bit. What a run Chase Elliott is having. Coming into this season, he had never won a race. Then Watkins Glen, he gets his first win. His second win comes at Dover earlier in this round, and now he's trying to fight off one of the best in the sport in Kyle Busch.
Well, he's going to have to do some fighting because Kyle Busch, even having to go around Ty Dillon, he still ran faster than Chase Elliott that lap. Kelly.
And crew chief on the 9, Alan Gustafson, told me they've spent a lot of time working with Chase to run up high, run up against that wall, and just as you guys guessed, his spotter, Eddie DeHaan, telling him exactly where the 18 is running, said he is rim riding at both ends of this racetrack, Marty.
Adam Stevens coaching and encouraging Kyle Busch every lap. Tony Hirschman, his spotter, right behind Chase Elliott. He's telling him how that gap is closing every lap. Kyle Busch certainly gaining, nothing to lose. They've already advanced, just like Chase Elliott, trying to close up that half-second gap.
So, Junior, I think what's really important right here and what's difficult for Chase Elliott, he hadn't been running right against the wall. Kyle Busch has. Chase Elliott will have to immediately get there and find speed.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's going to get tougher for Kyle. He's going to get in the wake of that 9 car as he gets closer to it. He's not going to have quite the downforce as he gets right here. Anywhere closer here, not going to have quite the downforce, but he's going to try. He's just got to be careful and keep that right rear quarter panel off the wall. Don't clip the wall. As soon as he clips that wall, it's going to take all the side force off that car. It's going to give up any chance he has to win. He's got to run right on it.
A win will give him 5 more bonus points, 5 more playoff points that will advance into that round of 8. That's what Chase Elliott needs. He needs more points at the start of the next round. He wants to get in front. He wants that 3rd win of his career, but he knows he's got one of the best in the sport right behind him, and he is closing the gap. It's now 0.3 of a second, the separation.
Look at this move by Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin gave Chase Elliott at the top of the racetrack, not wanting to get in the way at all. But you see that move right there by Chase Elliott running down the racetrack. That helps Kyle Busch a little bit. That puts air back on his nose.
Hey, and don't look now, guys, but as these two battle, if they can get side by side, let's not forget what today means for this guy, the driver of the 42, Kyle Larson. He has closed into 1.3 seconds behind the leader. That's a lot with 6 laps to go, but if Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott can get side by side, that may open the door for Kyle Larson.
And don't forget, in front of this group is Clint Boyer, and you heard his crew chief a minute ago say, I hope this thing goes green. There's Clint Boyer. He cannot afford to get lapped with only 5 laps to go.
Kyle Busch not able to close in. A little bit slower than Chase Elliott that lap, but the fastest car on the track, Kyle Larson.
Oh, he's coming. I mean, he is not just the fastest car. I don't need to see timing and scoring. I can see it out the window. He is gaining car lengths on both ends of the racetrack. Is there any chance he was saving some cars, saving some tire for this long run?
Right up against the wall is Kyle Larson. We've seen him pull the slide job. He has been able to make the pass when everyone else is running right up against the wall. Can he do it today to get the win? He has to have a win if he wants to advance into the round of 8. Now, 4 laps of racing to go. Is there enough time to catch these two?
With only 4 to go, if he were to catch Kyle Busch, he cannot mess around. He would have to immediately go and try to pull that slide job, get very aggressive. He cannot mess around if he's going to try to win this race.
Barely out of the gas. He gets right back into the throttle. Coming back. Out of 4. This time around, 3 laps to go, under 5 miles left in this race.
3 to go.
And the gap continues to close between the 18 and the 42. But the gap between the 9 and the 18 has stayed the same, a little over a half a second. Chase Elliott, what a year he has had. Now holding off Kyle Busch. Coming up on the lap traffic in front of him, he's got Kevin Harvick in front of him, who was one of the best cars all day long. Will Kevin Harvick hold him up? Now, under 2 laps to go.
Chase Elliott's done a great job of finding some extra speed in his car. When Kyle Busch brought the pressure to him, Chase Elliott responded with about 1/10 of a second. Chase may be saving just a little bit, waiting for that to come, and then once it happened, he went off and is driven away from Kyle Busch.
He's picked the pace up now as he works his way in front of the grandstand. 1 lap to go, presented by Credit One Bank. Chase Elliott, the 22-year-old out of Dawsonville, Georgia, son of Hall of Famer Bill Elliott, down the backstretch for the final time. 2 wins already in 2018. The slide job by Kyle Larson behind him for second. Chase Elliott coming out of turn 4. He's going to win again, this time in Kansas.
Yeah, boys, let's go.
if you need momentum to win a championship, nobody has more than Chase Elliott and the 9 team.
Second career win a couple weeks ago, third career win this week. They brought their best to the playoffs.
And guess what? The sirens sounding again in Dawsonville. Chase Elliott winning in the Monster Energy Cup Series playoffs and the third win this season.
Burn that thing down, buddy.
He's getting good at celebrations. And they're coming very often now. This moment presented by Sunoco, fueling victories all season long. After Chase Elliott went winless in his first 98 races, and everyone continued to ask, when will Chase Elliott get his first win? 98 races, winless. The last 11 races, 3 wins. Marty.
Rick, how about this round of 12 for Chase Elliott and this Alan Gustafson-led team? They win 2 of the 3 races in this round, and today made it count at the end when it counted the most. Chase Elliott, your winner here at Kansas. How about that? And how about the ability to hold off Kyle Busch there on those final few laps?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. Just enjoyed racing with him. I obviously got lucky with Kevin having his penalty. Thought we were really equally matched there, and wish we could have raced him straight up, obviously. But had a great car today, thanks to Mountain Dew and Nat Body Parts Chevrolet, all of our partners for working hard this year, man. It's been a great couple months, so we got to keep it rolling. This is the time of year that counts.
Coming into these playoffs, Chase, did you honestly see 2 wins in one round for this race team?
I didn't see why not. I mean, I thought last year we had a pretty solid run at it and didn't win any, obviously, but had some really good runs. So just so proud of my race team and the pit stops we had today. Alan made some great calls. We just can't get complacent. I mean, this is a huge time of year. We have a lot of work to do and a long ways to go. So thank you guys for coming out today. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next year.
How about all these fans who came out on a chilly day, Chase?
Oh, yeah, it feels great, man. Thank you guys. Y'all are awesome. And hell yeah, looking forward to Martinsville. Let's get it.
There you go. He's got a checkered flag to go collect. And he mentioned it, Martinsville coming up. He thought he had the clock there last year, Rick. He's got a clock to collect next week at the Paperclip.
Hendrick Motorsports has always been so good at Martinsville. And as you mentioned, a year ago, thought he was going to get that grandfather clock until the 11 of Denny Hamlin got into the back of him, and then that's when things turned for Chase Elliott. Seems as though he got more aggressive, maybe even more hungry than he was prior to that race. And now, as I mentioned, the last 11 races, 3 wins for Chase Elliott. The young man will climb into that car and make his way to victory lane here at Kansas. Post-race coverage coming up next, staying right here on NBC. Then extended post-race coverage, 6 Eastern on NBCSN. Hashtag victory lap at 6:30. And Proving Grounds with Parker Kligerman will be at 7:30 Eastern. Chase Elliott, after taking the lead away from Kevin Harvick, was able to hold off the 18 of Kyle Busch and the 42 of Kyle Larson. Alan Gustafson able to celebrate, and what a celebration it will be as Chase Elliott continues the hot streak here in the playoffs. race winner, Chase Elliott, will burn out as he head back to victory lane. He's there now and able to celebrate with his team. And that's what they are definitely doing right now, is celebrating as a team with the successes that they've had, Kelly.
And Chase Elliott taking a quick phone call from the big boss, Rick Hendrick, there inside the cockpit of his car. He's got the checkered flag in hand, though, and it is time for this team to celebrate their second win in the last 3 races, 3rd on the season. And you can imagine what the party's going to be like back in Dawsonville, Georgia, for this team. Chase, congratulations. I heard you guys say before your burnout there, we're coming. What kind of a message are you sending getting 2 wins in this round?
Yeah, it was a great round for us for sure. Just proud of the effort. You know, we certainly weren't where we wanted to be at the beginning of the year, and I've had a good few weeks. Obviously got fortunate with Kevin and his misfortune there with his penalty. Would love to race him straight up. But just proud of my team, proud of all of our partners, Mountain Dew, Napa, Hooters, Chevrolet, Kelly Blue Book, Sun Energy One. It's been just an unbelievable year, man. After last year and coming close so many times, you just have to enjoy these. I mean, you never know when or if you're ever going to get another one. So just so appreciative, crazy to have done it, you know, a couple times in a few weeks, but definitely not taking it for granted.
Well, and after qualifying, you qualified 13th. You were really disappointed, and you told me, hey, this is an important race because it's on a 1.5 mile track. You've got 2 more ahead of you. So what does this do for the team looking ahead?
Yeah, I think it's great. I feel like I had a great effort. That's obviously what you want. I mean, you know, Kevin was obviously really fast, but I thought that we were really even with him there that run. I was behind him. It would have been really hard to pass him, but would have loved to have raced him straight up. I'm sure you're gonna have to deal with him, you know, throughout the rest of the deal, along with Kyle and the rest of them. So just proud to be amongst them right now, and we'll try to keep it going. This is not the time to let up.
Going into that round of 8 with some momentum for the 9 team. Congrats, Rick.
In the background, you see Jimmy Johnson has come in to congratulate the young winner. And we look at the playoff grid. Started with 16. 50% of those drivers now eliminated. It is down to the round of 8. Only 8 drivers still with a shot at that championship. One of the names eliminated from that list, Kyle Larson. Parker Kligerman caught up with him.
Kyle Larson just comes up a little bit short on being able to win this race and make it in the next round of the playoffs. Did you think you had something there coming down the end when you were catching the 18 and the 9?
Yeah, I did. I wasn't as good there. Felt like on the short run, in the middle run I'd be good, and then the end of the run I'd be back to being bad. And the 18 was just able to get by me. I was pretty loose there for a handful of laps, and then my balance got really good. And as it seemed like the last 2 runs, or the entry of 3 and exit of 4, got even higher, and that really helped me. And I felt like, you know, maybe if I could have stayed second, you know, with the line that the 9 was running there at the end. You know, I could have done something with it. So just hate that I allowed Kyle to get by me there at the beginning of that cycle. But a good day for our McDonald's team. Our car was fast, a lot better than practice. There was, you know, early in the race I felt pretty identical to practice, just really edgy and loose, and we got it better and kept tightening it up, and felt like our balance was really good there to end. So wish I could have done something there, but Chase ran a good race up front, and you know, Kyle never makes mistakes as well, so hard to beat those guys.
You've had some constructive criticism for this race team throughout the playoffs, especially at Talladega. What do you guys take from this experience to be stronger next year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good season, up and down at times. You know, mile and a half we've ran really well at. So I've had a lot of fun, you know, places like this. So just got to keep working hard. You know, the package is way different for next year too. So don't really know, you know, how anybody will be until we get to Atlanta, I guess, next year. So we'll see how it goes. But try to finish out the year strong for everybody at Chip Ganassi Racing, and you'd like to get a win. Got some good tracks coming up, especially Homestead. So won't be letting anybody win the race this year. So we'll be running hard at Homestead.
You heard it here first. Larson's not letting anyone win that Homestead race.
Well, the difference for Ryan Blaney will be 6 points out of getting to the next round, and I saw you going over to the right side of that race car where you bounced off the wall there. Are you going to be able to forgive yourself on that one? Because I know you took blame on the radio.
Gee, I appreciate that. I guess you move on from everything, and obviously a mistake I made, just trying hard, trying to catch those guys, and pushed too hard, got in the fence, so it's all my fault. Whether it worked out for us or not, I don't know, but I didn't think we had the speed the 9 or the 4 did. The 4 had to come back in, but the 9 was super fast, and I don't know, messed up, and cost us a good shot, but thank Wrangler and Menards and Brakes Workwear for doing what they do, and the whole 12 team, they deserve a lot better than that, so that was unfortunate on my part.
How would you describe their effort throughout the weekend? Because you had a lot of speed, Ryan.
We had a lot of speed, yeah. I thought we had, never thought we had winning speed. I thought we, all race, I thought we had second or third place speed, and I thought some cars got a little bit better than what we did there in the second part of the race, and just couldn't really keep up. So that stunk, but a good effort, you know, a good showing for us, and just not enough, which you'll have that. We'll just move on to Martinsville and try to go do the best we can the rest of the playoffs.
Gave it all he had today in Kansas.
Well, it winds up being 6 for Brad Keselowski, not enough to be able to advance to the next round. Was it sort of playing from behind all day, Brad?
Yeah, those guys were just really fast, and we just weren't able to really do anything with, probably the 9 and the 4. I don't know what happened to the 4, but he was really good too. We kind of finished where we were, and with what we deserved, just never really caught a break to, make anything more out of it.
When you look back at this round, what kind of went wrong after all the momentum coming into this round?
We got wrecked at Dover and ran out of gas when the race ran long at Talladega, and had a good day here today. Today is kind of like what we should have had the other 2 weeks, and that would have been more than enough, but that's not the way the brakes fell. They kind of fell against us, but and we weren't able to overcome that. But all in all, I'm still proud of the races we won and that effort, and just be proud of what we got, not what we don't.
All right, Brad Keselowski not advancing here to the round of 8.
And the drivers that are advancing in front of you, those 8 drivers, 50%. So 4 of the 8 drivers from one organization. That's right, Stewart-Haas Racing has 4 drivers in the top 8. A very impressive run that they have had in these playoffs. So, Jeff, we look at those 8 drivers, and we've talked about the big 3. They are able to utilize the playoff points that they've earned during the regular season and in these playoffs to help them potentially advance to the championship 4. But now it comes down to eliminating 4 drivers out of the championship 8.
Yeah, you saw mistakes today, how much they cost you. Well, that starts again next week. You can't afford mistakes. See Kevin Harvick, once again, trouble on pit road. That cost them. They can't afford that in this next round. And then you saw, some guys just didn't run well enough. Kurt Busch didn't run well enough. Clint Boyer didn't run well enough. They're going to have to step their game up going into Martinsville next week.
So, again, it's going to get very cutthroat. 3 races to go before we decide the championship 4. Let's send it over to Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Letarte. Their thoughts on this race.
Well, Rick, you mentioned 3 races before we get down to 4, and I think that's the conversation. What I saw today was a lot of cars that are getting better at the mile-and-a-half tracks. Chase Elliott has definitely improved. But this next round, Junior, half mile at Martinsville, 1 mile at Phoenix, a tricky mile-and-a-half at Texas for that reshaped turn 1 and 2. I think this is the most difficult round as far as the variety of racetracks.
Yeah, I think we're all ready to go to a short track and see some great action. You saw what we saw there last year with Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin. I mean, we're going to have some fireworks next weekend. And then with Phoenix moving that flag or the start-finish line over to turn 2, we don't know what that's going to do. So that should be pretty interesting as well. But I think I'd be concerned if I'm a guy like Martin Truex Jr. This is our champion last year, won the race at Homestead, didn't have a great car today. They're going to go home and try to answer those questions as to why they didn't have that speed that they thought they should have today to be able to go into this round and perform and make it at Homestead. Then will they have that speed at Homestead another mile and a half? That'll be tough.
And, we talk about points, and they do have a little bit of a points lead, but I think Eric Almirola and Chase Elliott proved wins are what's going to matter in this final round. I really expect to see 3 winners in 3 different races. That's going to set at least 3/4 of the field heading into Miami.
All right, you heard the prediction there. 3 winners in the 3 races. to fill out 3 of the spots that will make it into the championship 4. Stay with us here. Post-race coverage continue on NBC, and then extended post-race coverage on NBC-SN at 6 o'clock, 6:30. It's hashtag Victory Late and Proving Grounds with Parker Kligerman at 7:30 on NBC-SN. And there's Bill Elliott congratulating his son. Here's Krista, Kyle, and DJ.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.